Thank you for watching Palm Beach County's Community Bulletin Board. Please check the PBC TV20 online program guide for future airtimes at pbcgov.com.
Zoom. Commissioner Sachs, you had an item you possibly wanted to
Yes.
move up on the agenda.
Thank
Would you
you
like
so
to make
much.
that motion?
Yes, thank you so much, Madam Mayor. I've got a request from our folks who would like to speak about this, and that's the public, by the way, the public. If we could reorder 6D2 so that, actually, we could probably be better to do 6D1 and 2.
We already approved.
No, we didn't approve it. This is regular agenda.
Yeah, we only did 6A1.
Yeah, I'm
Correct.
sorry.
So we still can
6D1 and
pull.
2. If we could reorder the agenda so that folks from the public could be heard at this time.
Is that a
It's
motion?
okay. That is a motion, and I have a second, don't
We
I?
have a motion by Commissioner Sachs, a second by Commissioner Weiss. All in favor?
Aye.
We are just reordering the agenda to take 6D1 and 2 next.
And that's from folks from the public who would like to be heard before we get into the whole discussion of Doge.
Yes, 6D1, excuse me, yes, 6D1 and 2.
Okay, and I think that the folks who have requested this have already submitted a card.
We will get back to 6A2.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So we could hear from them now and then move forward on this, and
How many cards do we have?
On B2, we have like 4.
We have 4 cards.
okay.
If you would like to call them up, please. One second. So 6D1, if we have cards on D2, would you like to? D1 was
Actually, you know what it is, Mayor, specifically, there are people from the public that would like to be heard on 6D2, A. So whatever is the mayor's pleasure, but they have to go pretty soon, and they wanted to be heard now.
So Commissioner Sachs, since we've already reordered the agenda,
Yes.
do you
No, but I'm
mind if
just
we
wanting
vote on
to-
61
Yep,
quickly?
whatever is the mayor's pleasure, but it is specifically to 6D2A and B.
Perfect.
Okay?
So,
Thank you, Mayor.
of course. So 61 is a resolution repealing and replacing Resolution 2013-0242 regarding the Division of Senior and Veteran Services, authorizing the county administrator or his designee signatory authority for individual agreements, amendments, and other necessary documents related to Area Agency on Aging of Palm Beach Treasure Coast, Inc. That is what we're voting on currently. Are there any comments? I have 2 lights on. Commissioner Weiss, would you like to speak to this?
May I be recognized?
Okay. I have a motion by Commissioner Weiss. I have a second by Vice Mayor Woodward. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Please see that that motion carries 7-0.
Mayor,
On-
may I be recognized? Sorry,
Yes.
we needed a vote to reorder the agenda. We had a maker and a
We-
seconder.
We did. It was 7-0. Has anyone opposed that? Okay. Or 6-0. But then she asked what we were voting on, and then we voted on it. I believe there were 7-0. And she's agreeing now, so please let the record reflect 7-0. Now we will move on to 62, and we'll hear from the public first.
All right, we have 2 podiums, so please come up. We got Maureen Killian, Nicole Soda. Although I think Nicole, give me a second.
Nicole,
Right, she had a non-speaking card, she had to leave. Nicole Killian,
Nikki
Sharon
and
Burns Carter, and I believe that's it, actually.
Lissa Franklin and Nikki Soda had to leave, but
They
they
had to
did
leave, correct.
submit their comments to you.
In writing, we're
in
going to
writing
submit them for the
and
record.
email.
Please, go ahead.
Okay, Maureen Killian, and I misfired this morning. I'm a person with lived experience as a mother. To be clear, I support this housing solutions. I support services experience for people experiencing homeless, and I support the county's efforts to address the complex and overlapping needs. I'm here to talk today about transparency and accountability of the opioid settlement funds. These funds come with the legal and moral obligation by Florida Statute 1742 for opioid-specific prevention, treatment, recovery, and harm reduction. They're not general purpose dollars. There's growing concern in the community about how these funds are being deployed. We, SEFRA, Southeast Florida Recovery Advocates, and the Board of County Commissioners appointed advisory board committee are hearing conflicting information about tiny homes, prefab homes, perhaps at John Prince Park, the use of a nonprofit arm of a for-profit treatment center to access opioid settlement dollars. Given South Florida's rogue treatment operators, and thankful for our state attorney, Dave Arenberg, we put up guardrails, and they are essential. Opioid settlement funds are not pass-through dollars. Stewardship is required. Housing can support recovery, which is what we want. The housing alone is not recovery. The county's approved master plan reflects this distinction. My concern today is strictly about the alignment, statutory compliance, and meaningful use of advisory board recommendations that have been meeting, and you have approved the plan. It's a bottom-up process with policies that now appear to be somewhat dismissed, clearly evident by top-down language being inserted, and initiatives today without much advisory board input, and definitely not through the subcommittees. The community wrote a plan approved by you with the vision of recovery villages, inclusive of transitional housing and therapeutic housing with licensed staff, licensed professionals, and the provision of the social determinants of health. Commissioner Sachs previously said, let those that live this lead us, and we are trying to do that. This type of facility requires licensed medical and social care professionals, not just prayer and not just housing. It requires recovery-oriented systems of care. The current language must clearly identify opioid-specific populations, measurable outcomes, or accountability standards. Without those safeguards, risk is shifted. This is about putting the guardrails in place. It's about stewardship. I respectfully ask the board to ensure opioid settlement funds are used as intended with transparency, documentation, and accountability across all expenditures. These funds were paid with human loss. They represent our loved ones, my loved one, many who we have buried, families still suffering, and people in active addiction right now. We owe them this, we owe them integrity, we owe them everything, and we owe our families everything.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have Sharon Burns Carter. That's the last speaker.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, commissioners, county staff, and members of the public. My name is Sharon Burns Carter. I have been an advocate or a momvocate in the recovery community in Palm Beach County over the last 30 years. I'm a woman in long-term recovery from an opiate use disorder and a mom of 2 sons that have had substance use disorders. Our younger son, Caleb, passed away from acute fentanyl toxicity in September 2023. There's a difference between the science of addiction and the science of recovery. I serve on the Palm Beach County Behavioral Health and Co-occurring Disorder Advisory Board, seated as a person with lived experience, on the Board of Directors for the Recovery Community Hub of Palm Beach County, on the Compliance Committee of Florida Association of Recovery Residents, on the Executive Committee of the Jewish Recovery Center, and I am the inaugural Certified Recovery Residence Administrator in the state of Florida, proud number 100,000. I was the co-founder of a successful dual diagnosis treatment program in Boca Raton and was the substance use outreach coordinator at Rails Jewish Family Services for 3 years. When a person leaves a residential or partial hospitalization treatment model for substance use disorder and enters into a social model, such as a home, no matter what the theme or faith, it is a cliff. Those afflicted with substance use disorder and specifically opiate use disorder are at very high risk, as we know, especially these days. These risks are why housing and community are the essence of a sustainable recovery plan. Is that not the goal? This proposal does not reference the Florida Association of Recovery Residencies for our standards, which ensure recovery planning in the homes, as well as being a crucial element that our municipalities depend upon for safety in our communities. The master plan was agreed to be implemented from the bottom up. I think someone said, let those that have lived it lead us. At some point, however, it appears to have shifted, and with very little advice that has been solicited from those who have lived it or from the advisory board. Are tiny homes going to be directly managed by licensed treatment providers? Not clear on that. Again, there is a difference between the science of addiction and the science of recovery. Please let's pause and develop a plan for housing, a pilot program or not, that will meet the needs and adhere to the statute that the opiate settlement funds are intended. Anything other than that is frightening. We can do this.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Sacks, you're recognized, and then Commissioner Flores.
First, I want to thank you, Mayor, and my colleagues for reorganizing. These are moms. And even though our Doge report is going to be quite fascinating, I figured that they would want to get their words out first before we get on to that. I'd like to defer to our attorney, Mr. Oddie. He has done some work on this because there's specifics as to what this money can be used for. And he's done some very good research on it. I'd like to just take a minute to recognize Tammy Fields. She has been incredibly helpful, and somebody this week and who was homeless and suicidal. Taruna, you were the first to help this young man and his son. And Dr. Green, you're awesome because you oversaw the method, and he's now in a place that is safe and getting treatment. So we want to do this for everybody. And I heard this morning that 17 people died in the city of New York because of the storms. I just, I know that we're going to move forward on this. This is the first step, as we all say. This is the first step. This is a pilot program using these opioid funds. I have been notified that we have even more funds that we can use, so I look forward to this, and thank you again for allowing these moms to speak. And I would certainly support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Flores, you're recognized.
Yeah, I want to ask a question to the two previous speakers. Did you guys have a chance to read the backup, and is there anything specifically in there that you're objecting to regarding the program of what we are proposing?
What I had mentioned, which was what we today have in place in terms of regulatory and standards for
So let me ask that
Yeah.
two-part question again.
Okay, sorry.
Did you have a chance to read over the backup material?
Backup, I just read what
What the
proposal
agenda.
is on the
Right.
agenda.
Okay.
I have
And the
not,
executive brief.
Okay, so
Okay.
you guys don't know the specifics of the program just yet?
no,
Okay.
which
thank
is a problem unto itself.
Okay, so then let's go through the presentation. If I have questions, I'll
Okay.
defer to you. Thank you.
Commissioner Woodward, or excuse me, Vice Mayor Woodward, you're recognized.
Thank you. I was just going to let you know, Ms. Burns-Carter, I got your email. I was going to address your questions, but I thank you, Commissioner Flores. I think staff could do a presentation and would answer some of this already, so I appreciate that. And then I'll ask the questions after staff.
Thank you. Staff, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. First, let me introduce everybody that's at the table. Jessica Rosenthal from the County Attorney's Office, Taruna Malhotra from Community Services, Dr. James Green from Community Services. I'm Tammy Fields, Deputy County Administrator. And before I turn it over to James to make the presentation on what we are proposing, I do want to address some of the questions that were raised. The master plan that was approved by the advisory board and was approved by by the Board of County Commissioners had a component in it for housing. What we're going to be proposing today is consistent with that proposal, and the agenda item, the executive brief, and our planned pilot program was circulated to all of the advisory board members, and Dr. James Green did discuss it at one of the meetings. Want to make it clear that with these dollars, we are only intending on using them for those who have substance use disorders and co-occurring disorders. They will be used with nonprofit organizations who have treatment facilities. The intent of the program is for this to be somewhat of a step down, so that if an individual goes through a treatment protocol, we don't want to use the treat and street approach. We know that that's very unsuccessful. So this would allow for individuals to be able to be in some of the tiny homes in order to get continued counseling, continued treatment, but also learn the process of living independently without substance use. With that, and absolutely there is no intention of putting any of these in John Prince Park or in hotels or anywhere else. These are intended to be at locations where there are substance use disorder treatment facilities already in place. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Green for the presentation.
Thank you, Tammy. So staff is requesting approval from the board to delegate authority to the county administrator or designee to execute agreements with qualified nonprofit treatment providers that have available land to support the placement and operation of tiny homes for transitional housing. We're looking to allocate up to $500,000 of the interest that is accrued from the opiate settlement funds. To date, I believe we have about $3.78 million that's accrued to support this pilot initiative. The funds are already designated for housing in the county's annual opiate settlement allocation that was previously approved by the board. And then under this pilot, we would fund the acquisition of tiny home units at a cost not to exceed $100,000 per unit, provided that each unit meets the following criteria. Want to make sure that it's compliant with the Florida Building Code, the Palm Beach County Building Code, and then that it meets conditions required for bank financing. Under this model, tiny homes will be deployed using a scattered site model, 3 to 5 units per site, located on land owned or controlled by nonprofit treatment providers. The program will prioritize frequent high-cost users of the system with substance use and co-occurring disorders. It'll improve housing and treatment outcomes and reduce reliance on emergency behavioral health and housing systems. The nonprofits will have the responsibilities to own the tiny homes and to operate and manage the housing services. They would cover all of the redevelopment and the operating costs, including site plan approvals, utility and sewage connections, ongoing operations and maintenance, wraparound support services for residents, and they will accept referrals from the Homeless and Housing Alliance for individuals who have substance use or co-occurring disorders, or from our behavioral health system of care, and work with for a minimum of 10 years. They will also help them secure placement in permanent housing so that they can achieve economic stability and mobility. Our nonprofits will have the option to provide the housing for free or rent it to the residents, not to exceed 30% of the tenant's income, consistent with the housing affordability standards. And the county is, the investment from the county is limited to the capital cost of the tiny homes. None of the county's funding is proposed for operations or redevelopment or service deliveries. Nonprofits will leverage other funding sources to do some of those things. And so there are some nonprofits that have expressed interest, although we have not kind of dug into what they're looking to do. But this initiative will help leverage opiate settlement dollars that's consistent with board-approved allocations, maximize public and private partnerships, hopefully improve the outcome of high-need individuals, reduce long-term system costs, and maximize return on investment of our taxpayers. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Commissioner Weiss, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for clarifying, I think, a lot of the points that were brought up earlier. A couple things. Number one, I want to acknowledge my colleague, Maria Sachs, Commissioner Sachs. I know this has been a priority of yours, so I appreciate the continued work you've done on this. Secondarily, I know we say tiny homes, but I've seen these examples of these homes. These are not the pallet homes. These are not tiny. They're very reasonable, comfortable, one bedroom, kitchen, bathroom, living room. I don't want the public to think that we're expecting people to live in little boxes. These are reasonable sized accommodations that somebody could be comfortable in for a substantial period of time. My understanding is that they can stay in these homes would be up for 2 years, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And then secondarily, and one question I brought up during our meeting in advance was, in the case that somebody couldn't fulfill the requirements of this, there is, can you just reassure that there's a clawback provision in this contract?
Yes, we can do that.
Great. Okay. And then just I want to read a line actually from what we're approving. And it says to be used as transitional housing for opioid settlement eligible populations. So it's in the agenda item. It's very specific. So just to reassure folks on how these funds are being used.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores, you're recognized.
So my question is in regards to deciding where the location where these tiny homes are going to go. So we approved the 500,000. How many units, first of all, could be built?
The maximum that we can spend per unit is 100,000, so probably 5 to 6 units would come out of this pilot program. And then as we proceed, we would come back to the board with some data on how this is working and determine whether or not to continue.
So we're projecting about 5, 6 units based on the cost of
Yes.
per home. In your backup, you said that this would be on nonprofit entities' land or land that they manage.
Nonprofit treatment facilities or land that they manage. So it wouldn't be just any nonprofit. It would be ones that have treatment protocols for those with opioid or substance use disorders.
And these houses would still need to go through approval process through planning and zoning, correct?
That is correct.
Yes. And if it's located within a municipality through their process as well.
And do we know that our zoning and planning codes would allow for these?
There are a few that would meet the code. We've sent them and connected them with planning, building, and zoning, and so we would only work with the ones that do meet the Florida Building Code and the Palm Beach County's code.
Okay. My concern, as I brought up to you at the briefing, was where these are going to be situated and giving us the authority at the end of the day to select where they go. Because I don't want to force this down a neighborhood's, put them where the community doesn't want them. So I want to be respectful of the community, that they meet what the community would like. So I know that's something completely separate, but I want to make sure that we keep that autonomy later on through zoning and planning, that if the community doesn't want it, the community will be heard and they can come out and speak their voice if
And that was part of the consideration for this pilot, is locating it on a property that is already being operated by a treatment facility, so that is already in the neighborhood. This would just be additional units on that property. So it wouldn't be on random spots within the county. It would be on property that is already owned and controlled and managed by treatment facilities.
Right. And the concern is because we are delegating our authority to the administration to basically approve who's going to receive the funding. But at some point, I would like us to be able to decide the location, whether it's adequate or proper for that neighborhood or that community. So I just want to make sure that we retain that, and I would assume that comes through the zoning and planning process.
It would either come through this, if it's in unincorporated Palm Beach County, it would come through the
Right.
PZ&B process, or within
But they would have that municipality would have that
Absolutely.
opportunity to be heard
Absolutely.
at their process. Okay, thank you so much.
Vice Mayor Woodward, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to go over, it was a couple of questions that were emailed from my constituent, making sure with the oversight concerns on this, that, because we've talked a lot about tiny homes, and I think at one point, it was we're going to put these out in the world where we find land. This is being very specific, that it has to be on the property attached to one of the nonprofit, that the person leaving their treatment, or maybe even continuing their treatment, it's tied to them and that property. It's almost going to be an extension of what they have. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and then there still will be reporting back to us, even though they're going to own, maintain these. We're not responsible for keeping the upkeep on them, but they are going to be reporting back to us who's using it.
Absolutely. We worked very closely with the county attorney's office in developing the standard agreement that will be utilized, and it does have those reporting requirements included within the agreement.
Okay, and then as far as, one of the questions on here was about the Florida Association of Recovery Residency Standards. Is that a standard that's separate from what we're doing, or is it included into this?
Right now, I think there's legislation that's making its way through Tallahassee to mandate recovery homes to go through FAR. That hasn't passed yet, and so I think maybe about 30% of the recovery homes are. There are different types. Some of the recovery homes are in communities, and then there are level 4 homes that are like on the property. And so it's nuanced, but where we need to work with FAR, we want to work with FAR. We're one of FAR's funders, and so we want to have that level of integration. So we will be looking at that depending on what the circumstances are.
Okay, and this is slightly different than FAR, because as you said, those are in neighborhoods, and this is meant to be on-site.
That is correct.
With the facility.
That's right.
That's continuing the treatment.
Correct.
Okay, and also this is interest earned on the opioid settlement dollars. So we're not actually taking any of what those settlement dollars. This is just interest. And I think it was, right now we have 3.7 million in interest earned, and this is going to be 500,000 of that.
That
right?
is correct.
Okay.
We are required to use all of the interest earned for the same purposes as the settlement dollars.
Right, I thought it would be good for people to know that even we have the settlement dollars, but we're also increasing that just through investments. So that's a good thing too. Thank you.
Commissioner Sachs, you're recognized.
And this is really the work of the staff, because at our nonprofits, this is what's happening, my colleagues. When somebody has an opioid addiction, they go to a treatment like the Lord's Place, South County Mental Health, and they get treatment. 5 o'clock, the doors close. Treatment's over, buddy or lady. You're back out in the street. In the streets, it's called treat and street. Commissioner Marino knows that. Treat and street, which means we're giving you good treatment, but fella or lady, this is 5 o'clock, we're closing. okay? What this does, it extends that treatment to a modular treatment center, which is called a home. A home with a key to the front door. This isn't going to be in anybody's community. This is not going to be in a park. These modular houses are going to be right up next to that treatment center, so that at 2 o'clock in the morning, that addict has an issue, wants to get a fix, he's going right back to that treatment center. This is part of the treatment, so they're not out in the street. So, and this is for the worst of the worst. This is for those that we have read about. This is for our safety, and this is for the treatment of our most vulnerable addicts. So these can be purchased $10,000 on Amazon if you want to get a little tiny house. It's going to cost a little bit more. They're nice. They're not luxurious, but they're simple, and it's part of the treatment. So I congratulate our staff on this, and I look forward to a successful pilot program. We already have the nonprofits who've signed up. We have vetted them through our county planning and zoning. They have filled out applications, and we have manufacturers who are here locally ready to go. But every one of them, any colleague here, you want to talk about it some more, my door is always open, and you will be hearing more about it. The staff knows about it. I have to say that tweet at Planning and Zoning has been very, very forward-thinking on
Commissioner
having this
Sacks,
happen. So
would you like to
I'd like to move this. Thank you. That was not quite brief, but pretty brief. So anyways, thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to move this, if we could, the first.
We have a motion to approve 62A and B by Commissioner Sacks and a second by Commissioner Marino. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that that motion carries 7-0. Thank you. We are going to move back to item 6A2. Administrator Abruzzo. Or A squared.
Thank you for your indulgence, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Board. Last week, late in the week, we received the official DOJ report.
Please speak into your mic. There we go. Now we can hear you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Was saying that last week, late in the week, we received the official DOJ report. We as staff have prepared a slide presentation, and if I may turn it over to our Chief Deputy Administrator, Todd Bonlair.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. We had an opportunity to review the 98-page report that was released by DOJ, and we're not going to go through every page with you today.
Thank you for that.
However, there were only a few pages of that report that were really dedicated to Palm Beach County. And first, I just wanted to start by saying, just on a statewide level, to share with you the findings that they had, and these were just broad statements of the report, not necessarily to us, but to all governments they were looking at. One, they saw rapidly growing spending in cities and counties. Two, they saw growth across every spending category. And three, they saw that DEI remains prevalent in counties and cities across the state of Florida. What I did want to say on the next slide is that while some might look at this report and say, oh, it might have been critical of, increases and so forth in budgets, it actually was very complimentary of our Board of County Commissioners and our administrator on a number of different items that I think are just important to point out. One of those, this board took action on a MacArthur Foundation Safety and Justice grant. That was one thing that they weighed in on in the report, that the BCC canceled the participation in that grant program. Two, on the Office of Resilience and some of the reorganization organization that the administrator had put in place with moving that office out and reorganizing, the functions that we do locally with that. And then third, on the issue of paratransit and the actions that the Board of County Commissioners took to examine, restrain some of those costs by adjusting some of those areas. So I wanted to start by saying there were a lot of really good compliments, particularly in the Palm Beach County section, to the Board of County Commissioners and the administrator. And on the next slide, I'll turn it over to Sherry to just get into some of the facts of some of the spending components that were put out in the report.
Good afternoon, Sherry Brown, Director of OFMB. And of course, this is a copy of a chart out of the Palm Beach County section that compared our FY20 budget to our FY25 budget, and with a handful of our county departments with large percentage increases with HED at the top. And the next page, I just wanted to go over a few of those with you because they're all pretty similar, but I took the top 4 as far as the cost ones. So with HED, with a $200 million increase, what is included in the 25 budget that is not in the 2020 is that we issued over $100 million worth of housing bonds, so that wasn't there. Our grants increased about $25.6 million. We did not have the HIP program in 2020, the Housing Initiative Program, which we have added over the years. And so we started funding that program in 2021 through 2024 was about $35 million worth of funding that carried forward into the 2025. And then again, ad valorem increased about $20.4 million, but of that was $15 million for the HIP program and another $3 million for demucking. So we had specific programs that we wanted to include, and those were in the 2025 budget. Community services increase was almost $61 million. Some of that was about $15 million was ad valorem, but their grants also increased $30.2 million. 2025 was our first year to start receiving the opioid settlement of nearly $9 million, and then they had other revenues of $6 million. So the main thing is that not all of this is ad valorem increases, that we did get quite a bit of grants. Palmtran, $143 million increases, $31 million of that was ad valorem, and about $110 million was grants. And then same thing with Parks and Recreation. We had nearly $19 million of ad valorem, and they had other revenues of almost $11 million. There's a balance brought forward from the golf course because the golf course is in a special revenue fund and it supports its own activities. So any revenues that exceed expenditures just carries forward, and that's part of the budget.
Sherry, for the purposes of the public, when they say budget increases, it's not always expenditures?
Correct.
It's also money that's being brought in?
Correct. It's, new grants, and it's also unspent dollars that carry forward for the same purpose in prior years. Yep.
So it's just either any money brought in, it gets added to the overall budget, and I believe we did bring in quite a bit, and even for the bond money.
I mean, I think in community services alone, they received so many COVID dollars, and they spent so many that we ended up getting more from other counties that didn't spend nearly as fast as we did. So.
Thank you for
Madam
clarifying.
Mayor, what's clear from what Sherry just read off in the DOJ report, it doesn't draw a distinction between the argument of ad valorem dollars and grants and other type of funding. So
that we've brought in.
Correct. So it's been lumped together and portrayed in a way that this is property tax dollars where a large bulk of that increase was not.
How much of it was property tax?
There was,
ad valorem.
If you take the previous slide and total the budget of those departments to the budget, comparing the two, about $92 million was ad valorem out of $469 million. So, yeah.
So less than 25%.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Please proceed.
Okay. And then lastly, there were just some various points they had made, some excessive spending examples. $12.8 million increase to fund health services. That's primarily our contracts with the healthcare district that handles all of our Medicaid funding for us, and also the health department. And part of the reason why there was an increase is when we received ARPA dollars back in '21, we reclassified some of our expenses to revenue replacement funds. And so we transferred expenses out of the general fund to ARPA, so that would show a lower increase in the general fund compared to future. So it's one of those accounting things that just happens, and it just happened because of a grant that we received. Also, the $88 million growth on paratransit. And
Excuse me, Sherry, Commissioner Powell wants
I'm
to
sorry.
ask a question.
Sorry, Sherry, hate to interrupt. The $12.8 million healthcare district, those funds, they include that in our budget, or how's the healthcare district funded?
So they are a separate taxing authority, but we are required to handle Medicaid funding, and we transfer, I think, $15 million annually to the healthcare district as our portion of that, and they handle all of it for us.
So in the Doge report, they would classify that as an increase to us, even though it's a...
So they left an expenditure that we saw an increase of $12.8 million, I think from 21 to 25 was the comment in the report. And part of the reason why was 21 was low, and it's not that the expenses changed. It was 15 million in 21, it was still 15 million, but the increase looks larger because we reclassified most of that $15 million to ARPA, because we had the revenue replacement category under the ARPA, and the federal government had said that if you can have the revenue replacement, you should use it revenue replacement, and that's what we did. So, on paratransit in 2023, the paratransit of $50 million, but then when they compared it to the $138 million in 2025, the 2025 budget is actually paratransit and fixed route, so it wasn't really comparing specifically paratransit and those two things. I believe paratransit in '23 increased about $5 million between that time period. Salaries increased $70 million. We did have a class and comp study that we instituted in 21 over a 3-year period. There were the raises that they mentioned, but I will say that we just looked at, which I thought was an interesting item. Our average employee salary in 2025 is about $72,000, but the Palm Beach County area median income is $111,000. And then, if you want to add?
Madam Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
One thing that the CFO has keyed on in his public comments is comparing government salaries. And he said when he came to Palm Beach County, as well as Broward, Miami-Dade, that Miami-Dade will pay a certain amount, which forces Broward, and then for us. The truth of the matter is, this is a nationwide issue as far as government's concerned. This is not a regional or even Florida. You have deputy administrators and administrators out in California and Texas making $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. We pay our staff, as Sherry, this is very important. You have to really look at the cost of living in the community you're representing, and we're nearly $40,000 below our median income of what we pay our staff. I often say to them over and over again, what they're doing is true public service, because I know many of them can make a lot more money in the private sector, but it's maintaining that staff that is so critical to making us what we are today, and operationally the premier county in Florida, if not the United States. So this is a very important figure that is not, I believe, justly being advocated to the public correctly when it comes to staff salaries, that here in Palm Beach County, we are far below the median income.
And then lastly, one of their points in the report said that we spent about $16 million in homeless spending, and that our point-in-time count in 2020 was about 1,500 homeless. And then they compared it to 2024 of a little over 2,000. But, it did drop again back to 1,500 in 2025, and we did open 2 resource centers during that time period. So, and I included a chart since we had a couple on the point in time. And those were kind of really my comments. When you read throughout the report, there's a lot of, sometimes you're comparing, a 2017 actual to a 2025 budget, so there's a little differences and things like that.
And Mayor, the last thing that we just wanted to key on is the last 4 pages of this report provides recommendations that the report puts out there, both for local governments, but a lot of recommendations to the state of Florida on things that they should do. So in other words, what kinds of powers the CFO might have from an auditing perspective is one section there, which they're looking at in Tallahassee. How we promote fiscal responsibility. Some of the recommendations, to the administrator's point, look at recommending putting a pay scale in place statewide, similar to constitutional officers, for every municipal and local government employee. And those can be a little bit difficult, particularly when you're looking at regionally and the figures that Sherry shared with you about what our average median income is versus our average income. A lot of the issues on DEI and the recommendations this board has already moved forward on previous to the audit, so most of those have been in place. Some of the net zero and green energy recommendations they have, those things that this board and we comply with are items that are in state law. So the recommendations they have are to change state statute in terms of eliminating sustainable building ratings or model green building codes, and then finally, just some improvements on local government efficiencies in the budgeting section, and creating sort of standards for every municipality across the state to just have comparable forms and processes that they used. The one last thing is that this is DOJ's report. This isn't a FAFO report, and I know that there have been a number of distinctions between that, even though they quote some data from the CFO in this.
A FAFO report?
Yes, meaning from the CFO in his FAFO agency. But this is a DOJ report put out by the governor's office, and although they do quote some of the FAFO, we just wanted to make sure that that distinction was made.
Yeah, if I may, Madam Mayor.
Administrator.
Chief Deputy Von Laren said that exactly right. What I think is very important, especially for our public to understand, is that DOJ came in to theoretically do an audit. And if I may start here, Madam Mayor and the board, this is an area, as your administrator, that I have some experience with. I served as the JLAC, Joint Legislative Audit Committee Chairman, under 2 Senate presidents. We have a state audit general that goes in and audits local government. When I became our clerk and comptroller, I requested to my former committee that the audit general come into the clerk's office and do a full audit on our operations. They embedded with us every week for 2.5 years to come ultimately with 8 findings at the end of the day. I wanted that clean bill of health. When DOJ came in, I was expecting not a 98-page report on all the areas of the state with only about 1.25 pages in written recommendations for Palm Beach County or compliments, but a full 100-plus page report just on Palm Beach County. That is not what we received. Not only did we not receive that, Chief Deputy Von Laren is correct, they cited the FAFO numbers, which we still have not received any information on the formula of how they got to the numbers that they put out to the public. Point being, even by every general accounting standard practice, and I believe even our clerk's office can weigh in this would not hold muster without question under any accounting authority. So we are still trying to get to the bottom of how you came up with this number. It is not detailed or told to us in this report. The recommendations do not explain. They did cite those numbers, not as their numbers, but as the CFO's. So what is being put out is a DOJ report is somewhat incorrect, that DOJ themselves found that number to be the number of Palm Beach County. We're still waiting on how that is, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Administrator. I have several lights on. I just want to make everyone aware we will be breaking from our regular agenda at 2 p.m. for matters by the public and then returning. Vice Mayor Woodward, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I will try to be quick because one of the questions that I'm going to ask for is you to be able to give us a chart similar to what is on here with this was part of the DOJ report for the different departments, housing and economic development, on down the list, and you've given us what the actual ad valorem was. It would be helpful, I think, for all of us to be able to have a chart like that in front of us, because I'm trying to do quick math here, and it's disingenuous, just is the only word I can come up with right now, that we're looking at this chart with these numbers. At the very first one, housing and economic development, when I saw it, my first question was, we have a $219 million increase. How much of that was the housing bond? And you've already answered that on the next page, 109 million. That was a voter referendum. That was voted on by the people of this county to do this. So 109 million of that is what the people chose. Now, whether or not this board, agreed with it, anyone here, that was a 60% plus vote in this county. So these are the types of things that I think we need to have a better understanding for, because all of us are going to have to answer for this when we go out and talk to our citizens. Grants, these are big ones. I know when I think our first year here, we got 100 million for the C-51 reservoir. Those increase our budget, but it's not property taxes that we collected from the people of this county. They are tax dollars, but you have to talk to the state of Florida and ask them where they got that money from, or where the federal government got their money from. If we're going to answer for taxes that we're collecting, we need to actually know what our numbers are. And with the few that you've given us right here, it's alarming that we would be told we're spending so much more than we are when the ad valorem dollars show this. So I guess I'm asking for just this in something that is digestible and palatable for people to understand, and something that we can communicate. I'd like to put it on my own PowerPoint presentation when I'm out talking to the public. They need to understand this, not so much so that we can defend ourselves, but I'm looking for accuracy. And that's what I was hoping for in the DOGE report when it came. I wanted accuracy. I wanted them to tell us specifically what we've done. This is not it, and it's quite disappointing. And I'm not yelling at you guys, because you didn't do this, but we can do something like this, but better and accurate. So I think we can have the ability to doge ourselves and show what we've actually done, and that will give us the ability to have these conversations moving forward. When we need to talk about being more responsible with taxpayer monies, we need to know exactly where we're starting from. So they've shown us this. You've given us some accuracies. I'd like all of them, please. I know it's not something that can be done tomorrow, but as soon as we can get it, I would appreciate it. And one last point I'd like to make, even on the housing, the homeless point in time. I was around in 2020. I was not on this board, but as I recall, I believe the county was putting almost everyone into hotel rooms at the time because of COVID, because, and we got a lot of money to do some of this stuff. So I'm assuming we hopefully had a very low point in time count, and it fluctuates. You have a chart here where it's fluctuating, and they decided to use the lowest low and the highest high in this report. Again, I'm just looking for overall transparency. So thank you for this so far. I know you had to do it quickly because we just got this on Friday, but we need more. Thank you.
Administrator, you're recognized.
Vice Mayor, in your last sentence, you brought up the word transparency, and that is the grave issue that I see with this entire process. When the Audit General goes in to audit, as I mentioned, there is a back and forth. I believe Commissioner Sachs mentioned that in her initial comments as well. The right thing to do, and when an audit occurs, they sit down with your staff. They figure out what is occurring. They have questions. They give a report. There's a back and forth. There's a forensic audit of what takes place. And the CFO did not come sit down with us. He had a bombastic press conference and had no justification to the number, which is why we are here spinning our wheels trying to figure out what to do and how to do it. You say these numbers, well, sit down with us, show us. Let us explain our budget process to you. Let us explain our expenditures to you. Let us show you really the numbers that Sherry and Todd just went over with, how it works. There has been zero transparency from the CFO's office, completely none.
With the information, when you come back to us, a small request, if we could have it broken down into what increases are ad valorem versus non-ad valorem increases. That would
And I
be
have it for the
extremely
other
helpful.
ones on the chart. I just tried to keep it brief today and went with the 4 largest, but I'll email it to you. And
Thank you so much, Sherry. Commissioner Powell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'll be short. The challenge I have is with regard to this report. When you talk about government, especially the state government, and they come in and create an organization, you would anticipate or expect for that organization to be transparent, fair, and accurate. The problem that I see with regard to the Doge report, there are, Administrator, how many different departments do we have in the county?
Over 30.
Over 30 departments in the county, which would require a thorough look at everything going on in departments. To complete a 98-page report for the entirety of the state under the guise of Doge, and a page and a half for Palm Beach County, which has over 1.5 million residents, and not be accurate, to use numbers. Some numbers are from different organizations or agencies. I know one of the standards has been to use Bieber numbers in terms of population projections, and it's not accurate, which is not fair to the people who live or work in Palm Beach County or for the county. It's disappointing that the state of Florida would create an agency and pretend that this is looking out for the betterment of the public when not being fair, without being accurate. And the truth of the matter is, Commissioner Woodward said it best, it's disingenuous to have people representing the state, and in elected office, it's a public trust. And I do understand that the CFO was not elected to that office yet. He was appointed, but he's still in a position where the people should have to trust what's said. And because of that, I'm having an extremely hard time taking this report serious. I think it's a disrespect to the people of Palm Beach County, but more so the people of the state of Florida. The fact that I served in the legislature and had the opportunity to work with some of these people, it is really, really problematic that it would come before us and they would bring this report and try to send us out to talk to the public with things or so-called findings that are inaccurate. Absolutely unacceptable. And that's not on us. It's on the state of Florida that they would put us in a position where they would bring something like this before the body. It's unprofessional, and I don't like it.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. No, thank you, though. So we are after 2 o'clock. Do we have cards for matters by the public? We will resume. How many cards do we have? 24. Or not yet. 2 minutes? Whenever we have cards of this many, we have 24 cards, we do give 2 minutes per individual to speak. Commissioner Flores will be calling out the cards.
So I'm going to ask you to please line up. We have 2 podiums, so if you hear your name being called, please stand up and line up. You will give us your name and address for the record. And I will apologize in advance if I mispronounce your name. I believe it says David London, Rena N., George Garrido, Carla Lovett, Tony Robinson.
Please state your name and address for the record.
David London, 760 Palm Tree Lane in Haverhill. I would suggest if you can have captioning, because some of the speakers previously are hard to hear or to understand. What I want to talk about is, I don't know if you're familiar, if you had access to 150,000 ideas in a contest run by Google that could fix the world, improve the community, and so on, wouldn't you like to be able to see it? Well, Google ran that contest with CNN in 2008. They got 100, I had 2 submissions. It's all secret. Even though 90% of you probably use Google, you cannot access it. You can go to your AI, I don't know, AI is not helping with that. So what I'm asking is that I can go into the details of the contest. They were going to award, they awarded they tend to award $2 million for 5 winners through a sponsoring institution. They more or less did that. And so what I'm suggesting is that you approach your other counties around the country, because I'm sure you might like to look at those 150,000 other ideas that took 2 years for them to make a decision to decide. I'll be glad to show you what I did, but it take about a page. It's about a page and a half long. So if you're going to use Google as a search engine, why is it that you can't access this information? I would suggest you get together with the outer counties in the country and sue Google, or somehow or another try to access all this information.
Sir?
Please state your name and address for the record, Mr. Garrido.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Administrator Abruzzo. My name is George Garrido, and my address is 8422 Butler Greenwood Drive, West Palm Beach, Florida. I'm here today speaking about an effort, community effort between the Sheriff's Office, South Tech Academy, and community leaders. And that's a building of a vocational technical school, which right now we are calling South Tech Central. This is a project that originated when we realized that there were many kids in the center of the county that did not have access to vocational technical training. We have South Tech, which is a fantastic school, who we're here with today. We have West Tech, and we have Inlet Grove, but there's nothing in the center of the county. A lot of our children are not getting the opportunities that they need. So we spoke to the sheriff, Carla Lovett and I, who are the leaders of this project. I'm just a lead volunteer. I'm not a paid lobbyist or anything like that. When we spoke to the sheriff about this, we were looking at a specific piece of land that's been sitting there for 3 decades. It produces nothing, it does nothing, it's an eyesore, and we thought we had a vision about what this could become, the impact that this piece of land could have in our community. This is exactly the type of spot that we needed, next to the fairgrounds where a lot of trade activity goes on. And we spoke to the sheriff. We thought it was going to be a difficult conversation, but it wasn't. It was a very quick conversation. The sheriff said, "How could I possibly say no? This is exactly the best project, the best use of this land." So today I'm not going to get into all the details. I did provide every one of you. You should have this, but I do have a copy if you want one that we can provide. We have Carla Lovett, who's the CEO of the school, but we also have other representatives from the community, as well as some of the graduates and the children that attend the community. So I think it's important for you guys to feel what this project can do. This is a no cost, no, well, we're out of time, okay?
Thank you. Briefly, I'm going to, Commissioner Sachs, did you want to say something?
Not today, but later this week, make an appointment in my office. We'll talk about it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I would like to actually give direction without objection from this board to staff to provide this board options for potential future development of certain portions of the Stockade property to be used for a civic/educational purposes by a third party. Thank you. Next up, we have, that's just without objection, unless there's any. Mm-hmm. Okay. Next up, Commissioner Flores. Next card. Commissioner Weiss, did you have something? Earlier, that's what I thought. Thank you. Ma'am, please proceed.
Hi, my name is Rena. I'm 451 Belgrove Lane, Royal Palm Beach, Florida. Okay. So I'm here to speak on the investments that Palm Beach County has been making for Israel bonds. We have given them, Israel bonds specifically, over $1 billion. So I'm just here to discuss that. So the investments that we've made, that $1 billion, it hasn't been benefiting residents here in Palm Beach County. That it's directly connected to an active military conflict. It's marked by mass civilian death, environmental destruction, and widespread displacement. When these public funds are being invested this way, our county becomes financially tied to harm beyond our borders. But at the same time, we have a lot of unmet needs here in Palm Beach County that we could be using that funds for. An example, education. We have funding gaps, teachers and families that are experiencing struggles every day. Public money that should strengthen our local education system, not going to Israel or controversial overseas investments. So I'm asking the Commission for three things. First, to pause all future investments in Israel bonds, to not reinvest the March 1st bond maturity into additional Israel bonds, and third, to conduct a transparent legal review and redirect those funds into lawful local investments, especially education. So I wanted to make sure it was clear that public money should be invested legally, responsibly, and for the direct benefit of our community. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Marino, you're recognized.
Thank you. George, thank you for coming. You all in the red shirts, thank you for coming. You've heard what the board direction is, so if you get up to the podium, you don't necessarily have to take 2 minutes to say you're in support.
Please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Carla Lovett with South Schools. Our address is 6161 West Woolbright Road, Boynton Beach, Florida. Commissioners, thank you so much for a moment of your time this afternoon. I am the Executive Director, Carla Lovett, of South Schools, and I do appreciate, I know many of you have taken time to talk with us individually about this idea. I also thank Commissioner Powell, Vice Mayor Woodward, those of you that have been able to come and visit us. So I will spare you all of the details that I might share with you today, except to say that South Schools are a group, a middle school and a high school, tuition-free public charter schools, and what really makes us unique is our unwavering focus on career and technical education. We don't treat career and technical education as an elective or an extra. It is at the core of everything that we do. Every one of our students in middle school and in high school, in addition to working on their rigorous academics and working toward their diploma, are also in a career academy where they have the opportunity to earn industry certifications for high-wage, high-demand careers that meet the needs of the businesses and communities right here in Palm Beach County. Because we've been very successful and our students are very successful, for example, last year our high school students earned over 1,000 industry certifications in one school year. Our students also, our middle schoolers earned 200, which is unique for that age group. And both of our schools are A schools. We have a 100% graduation rate. We are in the top 6 performing schools for both our middle school and our high school of all the schools in Palm Beach County, despite the fact that our students come from typically underserved populations, and the vast majority of them are from low socioeconomic backgrounds. That does not in any way hinder their tremendous success. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Tony Robinson. My address is 1630 New Haven Point Lane, West Palm Beach, and I get the privilege of serving as the board chair for South Tech Academies. I will adhere to Ms. Maria's thing as being in support, but I do want to mention a couple of quick things. One, this is a direct alignment with Palm Beach County school workforce needs. We want to keep this talent local, and we want to be able to train and keep our talent to be local. Proven outcomes, our CEO talked about what those outcomes look like. Keeping our young talent here in Palm Beach County is extremely important. Responsible stewardship of public land. We want to make sure that we use it responsibly. And the legacy of the commission is always to reflect commitment to education, workforce readiness, and economic opportunities. Thank you very much.
All right, we have Aaliyah Genti, Barbara Cortez, Joshua Frank, Joaquin Almazan, Mercy H, Asisa M.
Commissioner Flores. What were the first two?
Aaliyah Genti and Barbara Cortez.
Perfect. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, I'm Barbara Cortez, and I live in 1124 Norway Street, Lake Worth, Florida. I am a student from South Tech Academy, and I attend the Veterinary Academy where we learn the complex world of working with animals and how to take care of them. Although the veterinary program is amazing and I love it, it wouldn't be the same without South Tech's foundation of support. South Tech is a school that gives you opportunities that you normally wouldn't find in high schools, and it focuses on developing skills that are found in the workforce that are so underrated. Not only does South help their students develop into fine adults, but they provide an atmosphere where great bonds can be formed and support is endlessly provided. As a student who is soon to graduate from South I can proudly say that I know future students who attend our technical school will be in good hands. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor. Joaquin Almazan, 187 Debut Loop, Belgrade, Florida. Vice Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for your time. I'm here today seeking support for the unsolicited proposal parcel lease with Palm Beach Sheriff's Office at the Fairgrounds Complex for South Tech Central. The vocational school will serve our students with specific trade learning opportunities in high school, ready to join workforce opportunities once they graduate. The skill levers are in need in our community to provide services to all of us. For that, I ask for your consideration. Thank you, and y'all have a good day.
Thank you so much. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Aaliyah Genti, 20 Crossing Circle, Apartment D, 3D44, Florida. I don't have anything written down, honestly. Let me think. I am a senior at South Tech. I've been going there all 4 years. I'm in the Culinary Academy, and I think it would be awesome if we had another school. I think that the opportunities they provided me so far have been beyond amazing, beyond exceptional. I don't know if I would have pursued a career in culinary had I not been in South Tech. I love my job. I love the people I work with. I love the people I go to school with. I love my teachers. They're attentive. They're vocal. I don't know. It's just great. And then my teacher asked, do you want to come here and talk about our new school and see if we can get it approved? And I was like, sure. Sure, I'll do my best. So yeah, that's why I'm here. I think it's really great. And if other students and other kids had the opportunity to get education the way I get education, to get the kind of teachers that I get, to get the kind of meals that I get, to get the classrooms I get, I think that would be absolutely, positively great. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for coming to speak. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Mercy H., private residence, Palm Beach County. So as a Palm Beach County resident, I was really horrified to find out that we put $1 billion worth of our property taxes into Israel bonds when Israel is actively committing a genocide against Palestinians. So it's just almost unbelievable that, you know, we're supplying funds for weaponry that wipe out families when we should be supporting and honoring families like those right here in our own county. We went over some numbers before about supposed overspending and everything, but that's where money should be going. Like, we should be investing in bonds and making investments in general that help our county, that support housing, and the rising costs, that address the rising costs that residents are facing, that help with education, that tend to our unhoused residents and get them everything they deserve to thrive. So, in attending to people who are uninsured and need health insurance. So when March 1st comes around and those bonds mature, please do not reinvest into Israel bonds. Please invest into ethical, community-based investments instead. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Aziza, 401 Clematis Street, West Palm Beach. I'm also here today to express my concern about Palm Beach County's reinvestment in Israel bonds, as well as express my discontent with the decision-making of this council. These investments break what are clear laws. Do not invest in sovereign bonds if the credit rating is below AA. Only make prudent investments, and do not invest more than a certain percentage of taxpayer dollars in Israel bonds. The job of this council is to protect public interest, but instead the focus has been representing another country and their political agenda. We're not only disregarding laws, but dismissing the very people who elected you, and every time our concerns are dismissed, we lose even more trust. This continued decision-making to invest in foreign entities as opposed to local needs proves we're not being heard. I'll provide an example. The Palm Beach County Comptroller has consistently violated the percentage requirement of how much of public funds can be invested in Israel bonds. The only way this is remedied is by increasing the percentage requirement in Palm Beach County investment policy. At first, only 10% of public funds could be invested in Israel bonds. The comptroller invested 12%. And once this was done, he requested the limit to be increased to 15%. You, as a county commission, unanimously allowed it to be increased. When he violated the 15% limit, you again unanimously allowed it to be increased to 18%. So it's time to break this pattern and the prioritization of a foreign entity. I urge you to reverse course on this issue as of March 1st, which is just one step you can take to rebuild our trust by not reinvesting the bonds that have matured. These matured funds must be invested in local needs. Additionally, I'd just like to take a moment to voice my opposition to the approval of placing a member of the Israeli Bond National Committee on the Policy Committee of Palm Beach County. It's a clear conflict of interest. And again, the priority should be on the people who reside here, and we require you to hear us. So thank you.
Clerk Abruzzo, or excuse me, Administrator, former Clerk Abruzzo, would you please speak to how much money have we actually brought back to our taxpayers?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Mayor. First and foremost, the investment in Israel bonds, and I'm familiar with the numbers up to the point of $745 million invested, was bringing approximately $35 million of interest every year to the county. To put that in perspective, our entire investment portfolio prior to the massive Israel bond investment was only making $27 million a year. So 15%, which I was capped under, was outperforming 100% of the entire investment portfolio. The other thing that is mentioned that these funds could be put in education, these are investment dollars that have to be invested in a small amount of product that are eligible by our clerk's office. So for those in the public that think that we're not putting money in roads or schools, that is not what these funds are. These are primarily our reserve funds, along with the tax rolls that come in that we have to keep liquid to pay the county bills. So in that regard, they have to be invested. They cannot be used for any other purpose but investment to earn investment income.
And Commissioner Weiss, you're recognized.
Thank you. And yeah, just a couple of things. I serve on the Investment Policy Committee for this board. And the one thing is, and I think Administrator Abruzzo said, we don't have, there's not a wide range of products that we can invest our money in. These investments are limited to bank CDs, savings type accounts. The only thing other than that is Israel bonds that the state of Florida allows us to invest in. They consistently return a much higher rate of return than any other option that we have. And it's anywhere from 0.5% to a full percent greater than the other instruments that are available to us. As the clerk, or as Administrator Abruzzo said, the use of the funds, so they come from a variety of different places. They may be a capital fund, for example, if we're saving up to build a new terminal at the airport. While we're waiting to accumulate enough money to build that terminal, that money gets invested. And what does that mean? It means that we're either going to be able to get that project done sooner because of the interest we've earned on that investment, or we're not going to have to charge our taxpayers as much money to complete that project. So it's a benefit to our taxpayers, but those funds cannot be used for whatever we want. Those funds that are from the airport must stay with the airport. Those funds from the capital holdings for the libraries must be spent on the libraries. It's not only the only area that we have discretion over in terms of where we spend that money is those that are in our reserves for ad valorem dollars. Other than that, everything else is segregated. And in regards to violating, there was a comment made that we violate our limits. We don't. Quarterly, we review those numbers. There has never been a violation of those limits. We have come back, the policy committee has come back requesting those limits be increased, but it's been increased because it's a benefit to this county to earn more interest on our money. And there was another comment made as to the quality of the investment. The state of Florida has passed legislation that says we are eligible to invest in Israel bonds. And that is the only, it's, as I said, the only instrument outside of typical bank accounts that we're eligible to invest in T-bills and that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Weiss. Commissioner Flores, you're recognized.
You know, I'm not going to speak specifically about what we just said. I do want to thank our administrator and Commissioner Wise for their leadership and actually addressing and answering some of these questions. I want to take a different angle. I see a lot of young faces in the crowd, which I've never seen before. I want to commend you on coming out and speaking and asking questions, because you have every right to question the people that represent you. So this is the right time, this is the right opportunity. I think you guys are being very respectful. So I commend you on being here, having a voice, and let it be heard. Thanks.
Who's up next, Commissioner?
You have Joshua Frank. You have Patrick McCann. Marie, no last name. Leah S. And Caitlin Palmieri.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, and good afternoon. My name is Patrick McCann. I'm a Palm Beach County resident residing in Lake Worth, an honorably discharged Vietnam-era veteran of the U.S. Air Force, a retired high school English teacher of 24 years, and a past national president of Veterans for Peace. I speak in opposition to Palm Beach County's over $1 billion investment in Israeli bonds, a crucial source of funding for the Israeli government. Money from bond sales continues to flow into Israel's coffers, with another $100 million forthcoming, allowing it to continue its genocidal campaign in Gaza and the displacement of Palestinians in the West Bank. 8% of Gaza's population, over 175,000, has been wounded by Israeli fire. After 2 years of denial, the Israeli Defense Force has finally confirmed a genocidal death toll of 70,000 plus Palestinian lives, despite claims by apologists for the Israeli government. Actually, the real figure is much higher. This is a ceasefire in name only, as Israel continues to block humanitarian aid from entering the obliterated Gaza Strip. Since the ceasefire was adopted, another 500 Palestinian lives have been lost. The slaughter goes on. These IDF figures do not account for Palestinians dead from starvation or having been trapped under rubble. Factor them in, and the death toll becomes increasingly higher. I could go on, but I won't. I beseech you, don't invest in death. My brother died in Vietnam when he came back. So don't invest in death.
Please state your name and address for the record. Ma'am?
I'm Caitlin. I go next? Okay, I'm Caitlin. I'd rather not give my address. Already been targeted enough for this opinion. My zip is 33401. I'm a mom. I brought my teenage son out of school so he could see how this works. He's over there. I hear you say that these investments are outperforming all other investments for the county. I'm definitely here with the people who are against this investment. And I would just ask, why do you think we are the single largest investor in Israel bonds on the planet? Why are other government bodies not investing this way? Very obvious answer. The money's paying for an ongoing full-scale war against Palestinian families. Children like I have here, I can't stand it anymore. It's not only the full-scale war on families in Gaza, it's also the raids and the occupation in the West Bank and the theft of land. Money can be obviously better served investing in bonds that are life-affirming, that help our families do better. on this planet rather than murder them. There is zero reason why Palm Beach County should be such an integral part of the funding of this occupation and war. There is no explanation for this amount of money from our taxpayer dollars to be going on foreign soil soaked in blood. Thank you.
Administrator Abruzzo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Speaker brings up a great point. Why are we so large, have such a large investment compared to other communities? Really, that has to do with the relationship that we built with Israeli bonds. When we buy our Israeli bonds, it's not through a third party or the market or Wall Street. You deal directly with the Israeli government. And when the issuance came of the horrible day of October 7th, we were able to be the very first in the nation to buy the bonds, and through our relationship, able to invest in this incredible product for our taxpayer that is returning record-breaking returns. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Mari, and I'm a Palm Beach County native. I live in West Palm Beach, Florida, 33411. I'm here today before the county commissioners today because I'm concerned about Palm Beach County's investment in Israel bonds, as this investment violates key statutes governing public finance investments and funds major human rights violations. Palm Beach County property taxes are invested in $1 billion in Israel bonds, an entity linked to severe human rights abuses. This includes funding of armed conflict, where 186 Palestinians have been murdered, environmental pollution with the harm the bombs cause, and displacement of communities. When we invest in these practices, Palm Beach County becomes financially complicit in suffering. This is a profound ethical failure. We are leveraging the wealth of our community to fund death and conflict, not only abroad, but domestically. I'm bringing up this point not to say these investments can be directly invested back into the community, as you all just clarified, but to emphasize the irony of how our tax money is being used. Israeli citizens reap the benefits of the tax dollars of hard-working Palm Beach County residents. Things like free healthcare and subsidized higher education are at the disposal of Israeli citizens at the cost of Palm Beach County taxpayers. Belle Glade residents have to travel an hour out of their city in order to receive healthcare because the facilities at the nearest hospital are inadequate. How many people suffer in an emergency situation because the nearest hospital doesn't have the proper facilities to assist them? We have the resource to solve these issues here at home. They're just being invested elsewhere when that money should be staying here and reinvested into the people that paid that money. Like you guys said, just invest it in more ethical things, not Israel bonds when Israel is committing a genocide, and we've acknowledged this. Our county's value should be reflected in its portfolio. I call on you only to make investments that comply with Florida law and local policy, to pause investments in Israel bonds while there's an active conflict, and not to reinvest the March 1st maturity of Israel bonds back into more Israel bonds. I don't care how much you guys think that it's a good investment. You guys are investing in death.
Commissioner Flores, who's next?
We have Joshua Frank, Leah, Valentina, Orlando Puyol, Councilmember Orlando Puyol, and Michaela McNeil.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Lydia, and zip code is 33401, and I want to start my comment by thanking the County Commission. I've worked in local government for a long time myself, outside of Florida. I know this is a hard and very thankless job, so I know you all are trying your best. But with that, I would like to respectively respond to and emphasize a few points that may require clarity, but we are trying to set up private meetings with you all to learn more. What we have found through our analysis is that the majority of the county's investments in bonds made between October 2023 and March 2024, the same amount of return could have been made by staying invested in the amount of T-bills and other domestic bonds that you had. And so maybe those calculations are wrong, but we would love to discuss them. We have also found a violation in February 2024. More than 10% of bonds, more than 10% of public funds were invested, and we've had these numbers crunched by some finance professionals professionals, we would like to discuss this with you. 18% is a huge amount of the county budget to be invested in these bonds. The Chicago Center for Municipal Finance, University of Chicago Center for Municipal Finance, has been on the record speaking about these investments, saying anything over 5% would simply be unwise. One-year investment hit 18%. They said this is incredibly risky for any local government to be doing, to the point where they do not recommend this. They've been on the record saying this is a ridiculous investment. And we understand this makes a return of profit, and it makes a large one. But listen to the numbers you just said. Hopefully I'm understanding. 27 million versus 35. 27 million. And we're getting that extra up to 35 million by investing in death. This money has been shown to go to the state budget. It has been shown through public records requests that it funds Israeli free health care for residents and weapon payments to the United States federal government. And so we understand it makes a profit, but we want profits made in clean and humane ways, and that's possible.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Administrator. My name is Orlando Puyol. I live at 149 Ebtide Drive in North Palm Beach. I'm here to talk about education. But first, I really want to thank you all for inviting all your elected officials in Palm Beach County to Palm Beach County Day in Tallahassee. It was a eye-opener, very informative, spoke to a lot of legislators about a wide range of activities and thoughts and legislation, anywhere from property taxes to insurance reform, workforce or affordable housing and workforce development. My wife and I have owned a children's school in Palm Beach County for 37 years, so we've been educating the little tots all the way up to getting them ready for school. So what a better thing for us to talk about than to help develop our workforce. Education is primary, whether it's universities or tech schools. Please consider what's being discussed and use our vacant land for something productive for our community. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Michaela McNeil, 140 Southwest 8th Avenue, Delray Beach. Sorry. Good evening, everyone. My name is good evening, everyone. My name is Michaela, and I am a senior at South Tech. I am enrolled in the South Cosmetology program, where I have built a strong sense of community and developed meaningful relationships. Through this program, I have gained valuable real-world skills and life lessons that I have prepared for me for both my career and responsibilities in the real world. Attending this school has been meaningful and positive experience for me, both academically and personally. South Tech Academy provides a support learning environment with dedicated teachers and programs that motivate me to work hard and stay focused on my goals. This school has helped me grow, build confidence, and prepare for my future. And I am proud to represent South Tech Academy today. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, thank you all commissioners, thank you Chair. My name is Valentina. I'm here on behalf of a group of residents in Palm Beach and overall in South Florida that are really, expressing their concern for a transparent budget. A lot of conversation here was spoken about budgeting. County Administrator Abruzzo talked about transparency. So what we really want to express is the need for funding local needs and how these investments that folks are talking about should be taken back, that money that's being, profited and being spent here instead of continuously being reinvested in Israel bonds. I guess, as a resident, I'm worried how CFO said there was a 344 overspending, right? $1 million overspent, yet somehow last month we found $345 million to invest into Israel bonds, bringing our total into $1 billion. 2023, there was a deficit in our budget of $732 million, yet $700 million were invested in Israel bonds. So, there's obviously questions that we all have, and we're looking forward to continuing to meet with you all to have these conversations and the clarities that you guys are bringing up to us. But I think it's also really important to acknowledge that there's a percentage that is to be invested, and it has continuously been over exceeded, right? It was 10%, then 12%, now we're at 18%, which is a huge amount of our budget. And the percentage that we're getting back, it's really not that great of an investment. So there is money that could go into things that are helping us, that are more ethical, compared to, you know, how everybody has said, spending money in places that really we shouldn't. And our money is to be spent in local needs, and I'm pretty sure, right, it shouldn't have any political ideology. Yet what you just mentioned is clear political ideology. Thank you all.
Next up, Commissioner.
Last call for Joshua Frank, Les Gomez, Johan Munoz, Oliver Larkin, Linda Smith. Sir, go ahead.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Oliver Larkin. As of next month, I'll be a Boca Raton resident, zip code 33433. Good afternoon. I'm here to express my serious concern about Palm Beach County's investment in Israel bonds, as this record high investment violates key statutes governing public finance investments and funds major human rights violations. Palm Beach County property taxes are invested in $1 billion in Israel bonds, an entity linked to severe human rights abuses, including funding of West Bank apartheid and the Gaza genocide, where at least 81,000 Palestinians have been murdered, a minimum estimate accepted by the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, along with environmental pollution with the harm the bombs cause and the displacement of communities. Half of the population of Gaza is below the age of 18. These are children. When we invest in these practices, Palm Beach County becomes financially complicit in genocide. We are leveraging the wealth of our community to fund death and conflict. Wealth derived from our diverse and peaceful neighborhoods is used to enable oppression elsewhere. This is a profound ethical failure. Our county's value should be reflected in its portfolio. I call on you to only make investments that comply with Florida law and local policies, to pause investments in Israel bonds while there is an active conflict, and to not reinvest the March 1st maturity of Israel bonds back into more Israel bonds. These matured funds must be invested ethically to serve local needs that are made public to Palm Beach County constituents. Do not let our community be bankrolled by bloodshed. Please align our investments with our conscience. I urge the Palm Beach County Commission to vote no on the appointment of the Israel Bond National Committee member to the Palm Beach County Investment Policy Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Les Gomez. Zip code is 33401. It is deeply disconcerting to see Palm Beach County invest a total of $1 billion in Israel bonds. Israel bonds investments of taxpayer dollars are actively funding the ongoing genocide in Gaza, and this investment caused a significant deficit in the county's budget, a $732 million budget shortfall in late 2023 after $700 million were invested in 2023. Palm Beach County residents need better roads, infrastructure, accessible healthcare, access to food, and quality air to breathe, not for property taxes to be continually raised to obscene levels to help the county double down on its commitment to a state that commits human rights violations abroad. It is illegal to invest in sovereign bonds if the credit rating is below AA. The credit rating for Israel bonds at the time of investment was B. It is illegal to invest more than a certain percentage of taxpayer dollars in Israel bonds, and you consistently violated the percentage requirement. To work around this, on October 21st, 2025, you unanimously approved increasing the maximum limit of public funds invested in Israel bonds from 15% to 18% of the county's total investment portfolio. Further, today, you all very slyly added to a vote to decide to put a member on the Israel Bond National Committee on the Palm Beach County Investment Policy Committee. This is deplorable and unacceptable. Palm Beach County's $1 billion investment in Israel bonds reflects a conscious decision to dismiss your community, exposing the county to needless financial risk due to the unstable nature of this investment and the mismanagement of taxpayer money. It blatantly disregards the public laws and regulations to represent the interests of Israel's political agenda, and it is manipulating to try and make the public believe that these financial decisions are being made with our best interests in mind. We see through this. There is growing distrust of our elected and appointed officials because profit and corruption are taking precedence over the well-being, safety, and quality of our community members. Thank you.
Ms. Smith, please state your name and address for the record.
Can you get the slides up, please? Linda Smith, Jupiter, Florida, Sierra Club, Loxahatchee Group. I would like to formally request Palm Beach County advertise a request for proposals for programs that can reduce our waste by 50% or more, which would cost less than $1.5 billion and can be completed in no more than 9 years. Should viable proposals come in, this would enable the closure of the old incinerator without building the replacement. You still have time to look into alternatives. The proposed $1.5 billion incinerator is the most expensive capital project in Palm Beach County's history. Why do I ask this? We know from elsewhere that it's possible to cut waste by almost 50%. Pay-as-you-throw has been shown to be the most cost-effective way to quickly reduce waste. Results from MSW reduction, you saw this slide actually before on a big piece of paper. I thought it'd be easier to read on the big screen. These graphs show that communities that transition to pay-as-you-throw fee structures for residents, also known as utility-based pricing, because people pay for what they use, just like water, gas, and electricity. In the lower right, Sanford, Maine, this graph's powerful message shows that they implemented a pay-as-you-throw in 2010. Waste disposal was reduced by about 50%, virtually overnight. One person did not like the program. He had just won the lottery, so he put up billboards and got the program repealed. Waste generation, unfortunately, bounced back up. In 2013, he moved away, and the people chose to reinstate the program. Waste plummeted again immediately. Slide 2, please. Study from Falls Rivers, Massachusetts, 2014. Note there's a typo. They don't make $29 million. This is a lower class community.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
And it reduced waste by 43%. And there was another slide, I'll send you all of it.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Johan Munoz, zip code 33401. I'm here today to express my opposition to Palm Beach County's investment in Israel bonds, as these not only violate key statutes governing public finance investments, but also egregiously fund human rights violations abroad. As a public school educator, I urge you to reconsider how this money could be better allocated, perhaps committing it to serve our diverse student population, many of whom are traumatized and unable to focus on their studies due to the deployment of ICE military-style raids in our cities. As of now, your $1 billion investment in Israeli bonds stands as a cornerstone of another military occupation, the genocidal operations and war crimes in Gaza, responsible for civilian deaths in hospitals, refugee camps, schools, and residential buildings. On top of this, you're also considering appointing a member of the Israel Bond National Committee to the Palm Beach County Investment Policy Committee, thereby violating public trust and further normalizing these blood-soaked investments. Many of us are here today because we choose solidarity over exploitation, collective power over this depravity, freedom of expression over fear, and livelihood over death campaigns paid with our tax dollars. We are here because we refuse to remain silent amid these injustices and the county's complicity and mismanagement of public funds. I don't know if you all have seen the news, but people have had enough. Our distrust in elected officials has become deeply rooted, as people like yourselves continue to sit idly by, ignoring our needs. Do not gaslight us by rewriting the law unanimously, approving an increase in the percentage of these investments, currently at a ghastly 18%, further fueling precarity, all while supporting a foreign government. I'm here to propose a radical alternative, one where you actually listen and don't antagonize or disregard the constituents you swore to represent. Do not think that our presence here is isolated or reactionary. We are part of a broader justice framework. We are here watching, organizing, educating ourselves and our community about this repulsive investment.
We got Julio Fuentes, Saki Dekak, sorry if I mispronounced that, and Drew Martin.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Julio Fuentes, 2767 Pillsbury Way, out in Wellington. I'm here on behalf of the Florida State Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, who's fully in support of the South Tech Vocational School project, and I urge you all to also take a look at the project. For many years, our chamber has focused on one core principle, and that's education, workforce, and the economy, that they all go hand in hand. When we invest in education, especially career and technical education, we strengthen our workforce. When we strengthen our workforce, we support economic growth that is inclusive, sustainable, and more important, it's local. So again, I urge you to take a look at the project as the Florida State Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is in full support of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Zaki Dakak. My address is 841 Neiman Drive. I'm here to reiterate all the amazing points already brought up today. I'm here to express my disapproval in this commission's $1 billion investment in Israel bonds through the lens of a growing sentiment not only among local constituents, but an overwhelmingly growing one among state and local constituencies in our nation. This sentiment is our politicians are no longer serving our interests alone, but the interest of the Israeli government and lobby. We have a plethora of issues that desperately require our attention and funds here, as a 5-minute stroll through our beautiful city at night will show us. People are struggling to make ends meet, and we are investing money into the foreign interest of a nation that recent polling shows Americans want nothing to do with, as the Israeli government has been linked to massive atrocities and war crimes in Gaza. Our absolute backing and funding to this violent regime has made Americans linked to this genocide, a link we no longer want or need. Please hear our voices, as only our interests should be of interest to you. Now you have spoken that the funds have made a return financially, but morally and ethically, we no longer want association with the Israeli state. If our logic is financially driven alone, where do we draw the line? When will morality and ethics matter once more? As someone who has spent time in the Middle East, I have firsthand seen the barbarity of this current regime. This is a stain on the goodwill of our nation and makes us more unsafe here in our cities. Please use our funds ethically and not to further the interest of a genocidal regime that the majority of Americans no longer want to be linked to. And as a previous speaker said before me, please do not invest in death. Thank you.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Drew Martin, 1015 North M Street, Lake Worth, Florida, 33460. I'm here on behalf of the Sierra Club, and I want to thank the commission for taking the time to listen to us. I'm disappointed you cut us down to 2 minutes because we only got one time a month to speak on general matters. And it's, I realize it might be inconvenient for you to spend an extra minute, but I think the people come here, put a lot of effort into what they have to say. I think everybody's been respectful, and I think it's important that, give them the 3 minutes they deserve. I want to talk about what Linda Smith said, and that's this burn facility. We think that there's better alternatives. It's $1.5 billion, and that's taxpayer money. And as Linda said, there are other ways to deal with waste. One is what she said, pay as you throw. In other words, people are rewarded if they have less waste, and they are encouraged to do things that reduce their waste. One thing is reusing things, recycling, and we also suggest composting. I also want to mention I'm very concerned about a number of bills, and I hope your lobbyists will be opposing them. There are attempts to allow up to 10,000 units to be built without being able to come to the commission for review or approval. The public will be eliminated from speaking or having an opinion on these things. I think the county needs to oppose this. We also encourage you to continue to support bills that encourage recycling and reuse and discourage single-use plastics. One bill would require straws only upon request. That would improve the waste of single-use plastics. I hope that you're paying attention to the legislature and will oppose any attempt to reduce or remove property taxes as a way to support county and local governments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Madam Mayor, that concludes public speaking cards. There is also online public comments that were submitted. I'll follow with the clerk.
Thank you, Commissioner. Administrator Abruzzo, you are back up. We did have a couple comments. We will start with Commissioner Weiss.
Well, thank you. I just want to finish up, though, from what we just heard. And first off, to the people that came today, I always had an open door policy, so you can certainly reach out and contact my office, and appointments get set up. So you're welcome to come when we can find a convenient time. Also, in regards to there was a comment made about a deficit. I've been on this board now for 7 years. We have never had a deficit in our budget. And so I'm not sure what they were referring to. So we've never had a deficit. We always have a balanced budget. And then there was a question about the 25 million and 35 million. That was in reference to the Israeli bond portfolio performs or returns $35 million. Everything else, so that's the 15% at the time, that was 15% of our portfolio. The other 85% returned $25 million in total. So that's what our administrator was talking about. Okay, going back to our discussion on the DOGE report, there was a couple of things, and you guys probably no surprise to know that I ran this report through one of our AI models. And just to share with you a couple of, and I told it to be, you know, really direct on it and not to hold back. And so it came back with a couple of things. I'm not going to go through it all, but it says that, you know, one was it shows a strong ideological bias in it. They oversimplified benchmark models. So they didn't look at service level expansions, did not look at state or federal mandates, capital replacement cycles, insurance and liability costs, labor market competition, and think about, you know, the growth in our tourism, because, you know, when the airport gets busier, that increases their budget. And I think we all are trying to promote Palm Beach County and increase that. And so doing something like that actually, as it relates to their report, is something negative. And then they didn't look at any really outcomes of how we were spending our money. They did not look at return on investment. They didn't look at made no mention of mismanagement, inefficiency of us versus our peers. And, you know, it was a lot of noise as opposed to really digging in and looking at our budget and what's happening here. And as was mentioned earlier, Vice Mayor had mentioned this, we get a lot of pass-through funds that just pass through us. And I'll give you another example. We collect all the money for CRAs. That passes through us. We don't see that money. And yet that shows up in our budget as a pass-through to the CRAs. And so, you know, there's just lots of things like that are in the budget that unless you get into the details of the budget, you're not going to understand.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores, you're recognized.
So I have a few questions for our administration. We're right back at the DOGE report, but has population grown over the last 10 years? You know, as I looked at the report, we've grown 250,000 people in the last 10 years. When you have more people, do we have to enhance services across the board? Does that mean we have to add more fire station, more police officers, and so on? Would that be a fair statement? Okay.
Yes.
Has construction grown in this county over the last, let's say since the DOGE report compared us to what, 2020, 2021?
Tremendously, Commissioner. Not only has construction grown, but the costs for inflation that's not shown in CPI, which the CFO speaks about often. It's not reflected in CPI. The construction costs, goods and materials have skyrocketed.
And would it be fair to say that the tax roll has increased because of that new construction?
Without question.
Okay. Have we received unfunded mandates from the state?
Yes, Commissioner, as well as a certain level that we need to provide service to by state mandate, where a $344 million cut I would argue would drop us below some of those mandates, Commissioner.
would one of those mandates have to do with homeless people and make sure that we take care of them? Because if not, we are liable, and we could be sued by independent business owners.
Yes.
You know, based on everything that I have seen, I think this county and my predecessors have done a good job of managing the budget. Based on what I've seen, I don't think that we need to take any further action. So I'm not requesting anything from the administration moving forward. I think we have been very prudent about what we have done up to this point. I know that we're going to be going through our first budget retreat tomorrow. So I look forward to engaging in that discussion with you, but I feel comfortable of where we're at right now with our spending. So thank you.
Madam Mayor.
You are recognized, Administrator.
Commissioner Flores brought up something that I wanted to address with the board as well. And what the CFO has demanded to cut from us, it's truly out of the $609 million of the 34 now departments that we operate. And there's about another 120 million in capital improvement projects. So the 344, if we do not and are not allowed to touch our first responders, rightfully so, and other departments that are not funded by ad valorem, like our airport and water utilities, we're really speaking about a $609 million bucket that 344 would come out of. And to also the commissioner's point, not only obviously do we have our internal auditors, our external auditors, the clerk and comptroller's office that reviews every main expenditure. We are a AAA bond rated county. The 3 world leading bond agencies review us time and time again every single year to make sure that our money is being spent correctly and that there is no fraud, waste, and abuse. They would be amongst the first to flag something irregular, and it would severely impact our bond rating. So to the Commissioner Flores' point, this board and those who have come before you at their time has set us up on a way of truly being the best fiscal stewards and the highest rated bond possible in the country. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Marino, you're recognized.
Thank you. Just some observations. I guess they didn't know that we had the largest tax cut in 30 years, a couple of years ago, in our millage rate, excuse me. And I guess they didn't recognize that we have 1,000 pages of expenses in our budget and 300 pages of revenue. So even though we might have 30 divisions, if you put one cost center on each one of those pages, we got 1,000 cost centers. Sherry, you can tell me how many cost centers we have. I'm sure it exceeds 3,000. So to give us a report of 2 pages is disingenuous, said twice, now said third time. I don't think we need to be guided by something that doesn't give us any guidance. Also, we had $290 million from ARPA, which, that increases our budget immediately by $290 million. We actually have fewer staff now per capita than we did 5 years ago. Sherry, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Am I wrong or right?
You're right.
Okay, good. We also have the IST dollars, the infrastructure surtax dollars that we've collected over the last 9 years because we sunset that because we achieved the number that we were going to, reflected in our budget. So I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I do believe that the information that came down from Tallahassee does not paint an accurate picture. And what Joe said about having an auditor here, I'm all for it. Thank you.
Thank you. There was no direction or anything you are requesting from this item? All right, we have no more questions. Thank you so much. We are going to move on to page 78 of the regular agenda, items 61A, B, and C. Would anyone, or does anyone need a presentation? And do we have any speaking cards on this item? We are on page 78, item 6C, 1A, B, and C. We have a card if...
Yeah, we have Joseph Gray on item 6C1.
Mr. Gray has left. Does anyone need a presentation?
I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve C1, A, B, and C.
I have a motion by Commissioner Marino. A second by Vice Mayor Woodward. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that that motion carries 7-0. Thank you, guys. On to item 6C2, A and B. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Excuse me, I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve item 6C3A, B, and C.
I believe there's only, oh, and a C. Good catch. We have a motion for item 6C to A, B, and C. A second by Vice Mayor Woodward. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that that motion carries 7-0. Hold on. That was 6C2, A and B. It is 6C3, A, B, and C. We were on.
I'll make a motion. We approve items 6C2, A, and B.
I have a motion to approve 6C2, A and B. I have a second by Commissioner Weiss. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that that motion carries 7-0. Are you clear on where we are? Okay, so we voted on 6-3 first before 6C2, before 6C2, A and B. You got it? Okay, Commissioner Flores.
Just to clarify, we voted on 6C3, correct?
Correct.
Okay, with that being said, I would like to congratulate some of the folks from Drexel Property for coming together, making this project work. I know you guys have been hard at work, making sure that this was able to be done. And congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. We have done 61 and 62 already. So we will move on to 6E1.
Mayor?
We didn't do 60.
I'm sorry, I wanted to introduce,
Recognized.
thank you, ma'am. I wanted to introduce our newest member to our team, Alessandra Tasca. She has joined us, former Deputy Neighborhood Services Director from Port St. Lucie. She oversaw housing services as well as some code and grants. So I just wanted to introduce her to you because you'll be interacting with her throughout her time here with the county.
Welcome to the team. Would you like to say something?
Thank you so much and happy to be here.
Thank you for being here.
Mayor, I don't know if we did D1. We did D2?
Correct. We did D1 and D2 because it was we reordered the agenda to take 61 and 2 before the rest of the regular agenda. And so we've already voted on both of those. Now we were on to 6E1, A and B, which we will wait for staff. Hi. If Commissioner Sachs, you are recognized.
Thank you so much, Mayor. And when I was on this board, I knew about this PGA Tour Enterprises. But I have a question as to E1A, waive the disclosure of ownership interest form required for contracts over 200,000. Why, may I ask, why, what is the necessity of not knowing who owns something on contracts that high, sir?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Administrator. Yes, Commissioner Sachs, I will be happy to answer that. We actually have the Vice President, Todd Fleming, in the arena as well to be able to really talk to that due to privacy concerns related to the PGA Tour. If you allow me, if he can.
No, I'm asking you. You're the head of the department, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't need to know is he private or is he government?
He's
okay. I don't need to hear from the vice president PGA. I want to know what is the if you can, if it's confidential, then say it. But I want to know why we are going to vote on something where we don't know who owns an applicant that's coming over on a contract over 200,000.
I can take it manual if you want to.
Is there, anybody there on the staff you could answer?
Todd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Commissioner Sachs, and thank you for that point. It has been an issue that we've had a number of conversations among staff, with county attorney's office. Also, we've addressed with Mr. Fleming as well. Some of the initial concerns for the waiver were that it was a very complex weave of some of the investors that they have on the private side for PGA Tour Enterprises LLC, which is the contract we're going to enter into on this. We've had some subsequent conversations up even until this morning, late last night, with Mr. Fleming, asking him if please there's a threshold of which they need to disclose some of those investors that are in there of 5%. And I think that he is here today and has been authorized to provide to us in public comment today a list of those individuals or entities that would meet the disclosure provisions, and Mr. Adi has had some conversations as well. So that was what it was originally. Their attorney said we just do not want, there's too many investors that we have in there, but when we drill deep down into the percentages, we think that they're at a place where they can provide some of that information to us today in public comment.
So we're going to delete E1A. I feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We've been talking about transparency all day, and everybody wants to know, but I don't understand the, and I'm waiting for staff. I don't need somebody from the private enterprise, but I'm looking for staff, government staff, to tell us why we cannot know ownership interests for a contract over this amount of money.
Excuse me, Commissioner Sachs, would you mind if Attorney Adi
I
chimed
would
in?
love to have our attorney tell us. Go right ahead.
Yes. Good afternoon, Commissioners. So the issue was raised last week when we realized that they were seeking a waiver, and this waiver was put in place by the board in 2007, specifically after some incidents happened, and it was designed to protect the board in terms of the board's obligation to avoid a conflict. So that is the specific purpose that this provision is intended. Now it's up to the board if the board wants to waive that, but the board has to understand that they'd be potentially exposing themselves to individual liability if they are in fact in some way related to any of the owners or any of the other persons with ownership interest above 5%. So I just want the board to be clear about that. And when I did speak to the gentleman this morning, he mentioned that they would be willing to orally disclose some of the names, but just so we understand, the process requires that it be put in writing and notarized as to who the owners are for the benefit of the board. So
I have a
where we
question,
are.
if you don't mind,
No,
Commissioner.
I want to hear what my colleagues have to say about it. Go ahead.
If we, the board, decide to move forward with 61, can we approve this and deny the waiver for A, but still approve B and leave it up to the applicant to decide if they want to, or does one have to precede the other? Because if
No,
we
the
don't
waiver is a
approve the
precursor.
waiver, huh?
The waiver is a precursor, so if you decide that you are waiving it, then you can proceed to B. Otherwise, you require A in order to get to B.
So what I'm saying is if we don't approve the waiver, then it is up to them, is it not? That if they want to get the money, they still have to provide the waiver?
Or you're saying you don't, but you don't grant the contract.
Correct. We don't grant the waiver, but if we wanted to move forward, they would have to provide that waiver in order to
Correct.
move forward.
That is correct.
Okay, I have a couple lights on. Commissioner Weiss, you're recognized.
Yeah, I'm not certain, and that was certainly my question as well, was just eliminate A and allow them to make the decision whether they want to accept this with our conditions. That would, and so I don't understand why we couldn't do that. And then secondarily, I would like, Mr. Adi, I'm not sure, I was always told ignorance is no excuse for the law.
Correct.
So it sounded like you were saying if we provide a waiver, they don't disclose, but yet after the fact it's found that we are in fact connected, that somehow
You would be liable.
we would not be liable.
You would be liable.
Right. Okay, that's what I would have thought, but it's, okay, so when I heard it down here, maybe it's the distance across the dais. It sounded like you said we would not be liable.
Or not at all. It's quite the opposite. You would be liable.
Okay, so, good, I appreciate that. Yeah, I would, I'm also uncomfortable with why we would waive this. We talk about transparency and that, and it seems like we're going to spend $3.3 million.
Commissioner Flores, you're recognized.
I think this is great line of questioning, first of all. I appreciate this. So you said that this originally was in 2007 we signed this agreement?
The board moved to put this as a policy in March of 2007.
Put what policy? That waiver?
Correct. Yes, this was passed on March 30, 2007.
So previous contracts have had the waiver? No. I'm getting conflicting messages.
No, so I don't know that there's been a waiver before, but the policy was put in place in 2000. The policy requiring that they disclose the ownership was put in place in March 2007.
Oh, okay, so requiring.
Correct.
Okay. And we have never done this before, the waiver?
Not that I'm aware.
Okay. And the reason behind this is? What is, can we have the applicant come up?
Yeah.
They're in the room, right?
Yes.
Hello, Todd Fleming. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. Your question again, sir?
It's, why is it that this is now required if previously we have not had this waiver in place?
Yeah, that was kind of our take on it, is that this will be the third agreement that we've signed with the Board of County Commissioners for the presenting partnership. We did not sign a disclosure of ownership in 2024, nor did we in 2025. We are now, the other element of this is, some of this is process. We had agreed to all of the contractual language that the county had wanted within the agreement, and we had actually signed the agreement and sent it back. And then the disclosure of ownership agreement was presented to us after that fact as a requirement, after we had already signed the agreement. And as Mr. Emmanuel Perry has said, I'm more than happy to verbally state today the entities inside of the enterprise that own more than 5%, and to the best of my knowledge, confirm that our diligence inside of those organizations, none of the mayor or vice mayor or county commissioners or administration owns more than 5% of the enterprise. But I'm more than prepared to verbally state that today.
So, can I?
Follow up?
Yeah. So you're verbally saying that here today, but would you be willing to put that in writing?
I have been instructed by our legal counsel, which is headquartered in Ponte Vedra, Florida, at the PGA Tour headquarters, that I can verbally state that today. We have provided other documentation that shows the structure of the enterprise from articles that were delivered in 2024 when the enterprise was created. But today I am only authorized to state that I can verbally disclose to you the entities that own more than 5%.
Okay. To our staff, when does this contract need to be signed by?
The tournament actually starts the 27th of this month.
Oh, I know when it starts. That's what I mean. When does this contract need to be signed by?
Soon as possible. I mean, given the direction within the board as to how you want to proceed.
So we heard earlier that the next available meeting that we have, well, we have a workshop tomorrow. But besides that is the 27th, I heard.
The 22nd.
22nd. So I don't know if I can read this board properly. It doesn't sound like we're ready to move on item A. So where are we then?
So then we can work with Todd and the PGA Tour and working to see if we can, one, do private meetings with the commissioners to where if you guys feel comfortable, in private setting 101, if you guys feel comfortable.
I don't think a private setting means anything because it still has to come before us. I mean, what we're worried about is the waiver of disclosure of ownership. So private setting or public setting, we still have to approve this. So my question is, again, what's going to change between now and the 27th?
I can answer that, Madam Mayor. So what we will do, if the board would like to delay this moving forward, we will work with PGA Tour Enterprises and Mr. Fleming to see if we can get what he is prepared to say today verbally in writing and notarized by the appropriate individuals and submitted as part of this going forward. And that's what we hope to do.
Audie, right or wrong, we accomplished all of that just by approving B. Because then they still have to, we're just not approving a waiver.
If you want to put a condition on approval of B to the disclosure of ownership interests.
We don't even need a condition. That's already part of our policies.
It's a part of your policy that it must disclose.
Correct. So if we don't approve a
A is
waiver.
only a waiver. If you
Right.
agree to do a waiver, so if the board is not going to undertake that risk to do a waiver, then you can just go with B.
So we would deny the waiver, approve B, if this board so chooses, and then they can decide if they want to provide in writing the people, the ownership interest. So again, I do have a couple more lights. Commissioner Marino, you've been waiting a while, please. You're recognized.
Thank you. It's no secret that I am a huge supporter of this event. There is a different format, and that's, I think, why we're here today. Normally, this is, a tour event is usually owned by a not-for-profit. This is one of 12, 13 that the tour actually owns. So the structure is a little different. This is also a very unique position in the fact that there is not another city or town or county that has the ability to include their name in the title, in the recognition. The TDC has done a report that said there is a return on investment for us for this event, but we and the PGA Tour are in a unique position. They don't usually have this stipulation. And as Todd said, they did not sign a disclosure last year. This was something that was picked up recently. I would be happy to have him disclose today. That becomes public record. So I'm comfortable with that if you would be willing to, but it would be up to the rest of the board.
Commissioner Weiss, you're recognized.
If you want to disclose it, I would be okay if you want to disclose it. It will become part of the public records. I don't understand why they just wouldn't give you a list and then you could just hand it in and that'd be attached to the item instead of us having to sit here and listen to you read the names. But I would be willing to support that, but I would also be willing to just support this with B, and you guys go back and get us the list, and either way. How long is it going to take for you to read that list?
Not long.
Approximately 15 seconds.
So I will, Commissioner Powell, you're recognized.
Couple questions. I've heard it said over and over again that there was no disclosure required last year, and this was the same entity that was responsible last year. Why wasn't there a disclosure last year?
We had a different county attorney last year, and I think this one is really good and caught this year.
All right. Are there any potential conflicts of interest with this specific ownership or the membership that is being withheld that may create issues?
To the best of my knowledge, Commissioner, no.
I've heard our board indicate that we'd be willing to accept the reading of who is involved in terms of disclosure. The question I have is for our attorney. Is that acceptable? Because we have a county attorney who is our legal counsel. We know you have legal counsel, and I think our county attorneys, our legal counsel, I've heard a couple members, I'm sorry, not the board, but I've heard a couple members of the board indicate that they'd be willing to accept you reading the names. My question would be for our legal representation, is that legal, Mr. Attorney Adi?
Essentially, it would be a waiver of that provision which requires it to be notarized. Of course, it has a different legal effect if it's notarized.
Okay. If he were to read the names here today, and that's not notarized, that's not in writing, that's, does that satisfy the requirement, or, and does he have to be under oath?
As a policy is, it requires, just like it would for the Commission on Ethics, that it be notarized.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Are you finished,
Yes,
Commissioner?
Madam Mayor, I'm finished.
So, okay. So we are going to go for another round. Commissioner Sachs, are you wanting to make the motion?
That's an interesting idea. I like the way that you said it, so that we can move for 6E1B, and so that we can get this process moving. And then later on, we'll look into whether they want to divulge the ownership or not. But I think that to get the contractual obligations moving, I would move that 6E1B be approved.
I have a motion to approve 6E1. I have by Commissioner Sachs. I have a second by Commissioner Flores. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Just
Commissioner Woodward, you, hold on, we had other lights first. Commissioner Marino and then Vice Mayor Woodward.
Todd, can you please tell us, can you list the names right now?
Yes, I certainly can, Commissioner. The PGA Tour Enterprises that has two ownership stakes that are, one is majority, which is PGA Tour Inc., which is the original entity of the PGA Tour. It's a 501c6 that owns majority share of PGA Tour Enterprises. There is a group called Strategic Sports Group, which is a sports investment fund that has been brought together for several businesses, individuals, and sports ownership groups that made a strategic investment into the PGA Tour in January of 2024. They own approximately 11%.
So that's it?
That's it. That owns above and beyond the requirement within my understanding of the language, which was 5%.
And if these minutes are notarized with those two names, are we done?
So did you provide a principal for the other entity?
I will certainly ask. Offhand, majority obviously is more than 51%. The other entity that's involved in this is actually PGA Tour players, and there's several hundreds of those that own equity stake into the organization. All of those fall below 5%.
Commissioner Powell, you're recognized.
Thank you. Attorney Adi, in terms of a disclosure, is there a signed disclosure, would that require an authorized agent, the person responsible for signing on to? What are we missing in a verbal agreement that we wouldn't have in a written agreement, is my question.
So as it's stated, it says the names and address of every person or entity having a 5% or greater interest in the affiant corporation, partnership, or other principal.
Vice Mayor Woodward, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to follow up since he has verbally given this to us. If we approve this with the contingency that we get it officially notarized, which is what our normal requirement is, we can make that a condition for this approval. I mean, this tournament's, what, 20 days away? I'm just curious on the timing on this. If we make that the condition on this, would that be sufficient? And then do we, because the disclosure is meant to protect us, do we then need to agree that none of us are affected by the disclosures?
Okay, so the first thing, if you're approving it conditionally, meaning without you getting it notarized, it's not approved. Is that your question?
Yes.
I think that's workable. If you're going to go with the only issue with that is if you subsequently realize that you have an interest, you need to go back and undo it, as opposed to just let it. You can't let the contract go before. So I think the most prudent thing would be to wait until you have that notarization before you approve a contract.
Okay, so, and that's my question. If we approve this, either way, we need to make sure that this board is protected from the disclosures, whether we waive this or not. So I'm just concerned that if we approve this now with denying the waiver, we still don't have the disclosures. Am I right?
Correct. Because what you'll essentially be doing is waiving today.
Right, so if we approve B, we are essentially waiving because we
Well,
don't
the
have the
only-
notarized disclosures.
Hold on. The only time we would have a problem is if one of us owned interest in that company. I think we all up here are aware of how much interest we would potentially own in the company
Or family.
or family.
You would own no percentages of PGA Tour Enterprise.
I guess the point for purposes of disclosure are saying like, we don't have an interest in their company. That's what,
Well, it's not your ownership interest, it's whether or not anybody who is related to you, and it lists all the
or our
provisions.
relatives.
Correct, or have any financial interest, directly or indirectly.
Administrator Abruzzo, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is administration to the county attorney. Mr. Adi, would it be prudent if they approved 6EB with a condition that A, the disclosure has to be into county administration within 7 days? And if not, then it's void.
It's a workaround, but the reason why I'd say it's not prudent is what if after you subsequently get that, you find that there's interest from members of the board? How would they, at that time, retract the contract?
Madam Mayor.
Yes, you're recognized.
We would not, we can make it, but if we made it by Friday, that they can, that it's in place via that this is our only board meeting, our only main BCC meeting, besides the workshop tomorrow, that they get it in. We do not take action until they get in the disclosure. So nothing goes into effect until that they approve 6EB based on the disclosure coming to county administration by Friday. If it does not come in by Friday, everything's null and void.
If I could, though, please, point of order on this. The disclosure is for the members of this board, not administration or the attorney. So if there is a concern at all that this board may have interest in, or have an interest in any of the parties, then it's us that has to agree that we do not have any problems with the disclosures. So whether or not it goes to anyone here, we are the ones then that have to say, agreed. We have no problems with the disclosure, no financial interest.
Correct,
Am I understanding this?
correct.
Okay. So we would need to have something that's in place for us to say, we see your disclosures, we look at it, we have no conflicts here, we're good to go. That's the additional point that
The
needs to be
waiver
made.
can't be by inaction. It must be an affirmative decision made by the board, by each member of the board, or by a majority of the board in this case. If there's a member who has an interest, then of course the usual rules apply in terms of participation and voting. So to say that it would go into effect without an affirmative vote is an issue.
Before I recognize anyone else, how would you, or how quickly do you think you could move on getting the disclosures notarized? Could you do it by tomorrow?
Madam Mayor, I do not believe that I will be able to move that quickly. This is a pretty steadfast legal counsel on our end that is using historics of, we have not had to sign this in two previous iterations of the same agreement. And procedural-wise, we have already signed the agreement and accepted all of the language that was a part of this, and this is an ask after the fact. So I do not believe that within 24 hours I will be able to have the necessary conversations and gain any traction towards signing the disclosure.
Let me explain thoughts, and I'll weigh in. I want to hear back from my fellow commissioners. We only have one meeting tomorrow, prior to a very short deadline between when this starts on our next meeting, which was it the 22nd or 26th, I believe?
26.
26, and the tournament's already in place.
Because the more I listen to the attorney and to Vice Mayor Woodward, it makes a lot of sense that we would have disclosures prior to approving 6EB. Because at first I was fully on board with just approving that and saying, turn in your disclosures, but the purpose of the disclosure then is null and void. So that was a very good point. Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just want to make sure that we are not at risks, because ultimately, according to the attorney, we are personally at risk for this. And so if we could have something before us with a list tomorrow notarized, it's possible, unless everyone on this board is comfortable waiting until the 22nd or the next board meeting, which is then getting very close to this.
Mayor?
It is actually event week, yes.
If I could, Mayor, I was just looking at our calendar, and we do meet as the Solid Waste Authority on the 11th. Since all of us will be together, we could reconvene temporarily as the Board of County Commissioners. That's next Wednesday.
At the SWA?
At the SWA. I mean, we have reconvened here to be the SWA in an emergency situation. So just an option.
Do we have enough notice time to do that, David?
For next Wednesday? Yeah, you have sufficient time. You have a week and a
Legally
day.
sufficient time?
Yes, you do.
I am going to hear, because I have multiple lights on from the rest of the board to weigh in. Commissioner Sachs, you are recognized.
So I think to summarize, and tell me, Mayor, if I'm wrong, that we will decide whether we will vote on the agreement with PGA Tour Enterprises for the amount of $3,375,000 of taxpayer money once they submit ownership agreements as to the entity that the money is going to.
And we would be doing that at the SWA meeting on the 11th.
I don't care if we do it at a LLM meeting or ABC meeting.
But you are
I just want to
correct.
know, before I vote for taxpayer money going to an entity, I want to be sure that I have the ownership. Because we're talking, Mr. Oddie, we're talking about county commissioners. How about nations? How about companies that may be not companies that we want our money to go to? So I just feel very uncomfortable voting to put taxpayer money into a company, whether it's a wonderful golf company or not, that I have no idea who owns that company.
So you're in
if that
favor
is
of waiting?
correct, then I'm with you,
Perfect.
Mayor. Perfect, thank you.
Commissioner Marino.
Emmanuel, the contract dollars, what fund does that come out of, and how are they collected?
It's coming through TDT dollars, so our bed taxes or our tourists pay for the actual funding. So
There's no ad valorem tax dollars that
No,
are going
ma'am.
for this? Okay, thank you. And quite frankly, I'm comfortable with the waiver. They've been in place already for 2 years doing this. Again, this is a unique opportunity for our county and a different opportunity for the PGA Tour. They don't normally partner with a municipality or a government. I can understand it's one of the reasons why we had a lot of elected officials that chose not to re-up because they didn't want to disclose, because it might have been harmful to their clients. This sponsorship at any tour event is difficult at best to try to gather sponsorship. Us being a partner is one of those sponsors. So I'm comfortable moving 6E, 1A, and B, but I will make a substitute motion for that. Thank you.
Commissioner Flores, you're recognized.
So, looking at our attorney, it's not just our interest, it's our immediate family, is that correct? Which would include who? Children, mother, father, brother and sister? In-laws too? And while you're looking at that, sir, roughly 5% of this would be what? Of that enterprise, would that be millions of dollars?
It's billions.
Billions. I am pretty sure I don't have any family members that are billionaires. That's just me. And if they're lying to me, we have serious issues. So that's my 2 cents there, but I can't speak for the rest of the board. When was this last signed?
Last year in January.
So irregardless, if they messed up, they already messed up because, right?
Yes,
Because they allowed it last year, right?
Yes, sir.
Meaning, we all did. So this is very interesting. Sir, attorney?
So what you did last year, I guess was an oversight, but you didn't affirmatively waive it, because a waiver wasn't brought in front of you. I guess it had the effect of a waiver, but you didn't affirmatively waive it. Now that you're aware you have that obligation, so you can't not consider it because it wasn't considered a year before.
Okay. Listen, this is where I stand on this. I want this to be a successful tournament. I want to continue this partnership. I think what you're seeing here is ethically, we're trying to do the correct thing. You can't say that about all the commission across the state. I know we've had some issues here in the past, but this particular board cares, and we don't want to get into any ethical issues. So that's our hang-up. It has nothing to do with your tournament and what you do for the county, where we want to approve this. I think you're seeing the will of this board wanting to approve it. We just don't want to get caught in the middle. So I would feel safe deferring this to the 11th. Hopefully we can do some disclosures. But I don't believe I have any family members that are billionaires. So that's just my 2 cents.
Commissioner Weiss, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. And I actually let me just be brief, and I just echo my colleagues' comments. And I am supportive of wanting to support this, but I also have concerns about doing a waiver on this.
We have a motion and a second to approve 60B, but after listening to the board, do I have a substitute? Because Commissioner Marino's substitute motion was not seconded, so we do not currently have a substitute motion on the table. So do we have a substitute motion to move this item to the 11th in conjunction with our SWA meeting?
I will make that motion.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Flores. I have a second by Vice Mayor Woodward that we move this to the 11th subsequent to our SWA meeting. And Chair Woodward, I assume you will make those arrangements with the SWA? Yes. Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that that motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Moving on to 6F1A through K. Does anyone need a presentation for public safety? No. I will entertain a motion to approve item 6F1A through K. I have a motion by Commissioner Flores, a second by Vice Mayor Woodward. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that that motion carries 7-0. Moving on to item 6G1, Facilities Development Operation. We are looking at, actually, that's a great idea. We are going to take a 9-minute recess and come back at 3:50 for a restroom break. I'm going to apologize in advance. There was a slight oversight on our last vote, a 6F1. We have 3 public speaking cards, and if they are still here, we would love to hear from them.
Yeah, sorry, Mayor, I fell asleep at the wheel. We have 3 individuals that would like to speak on item 6F1. We have Barbara Chives, Oswald Newbold, and Jane Tierney.
Good afternoon. I'm Barbara Cheeves. You got Mr. Newbold this morning. And I realized that when I filled out the card to speak today, I put it on the item that said Criminal Justice Commission. I thought it was this one. I should have spoken this morning. But I still want my voice on the record. And you'll have to forgive me because when I'm emotional, I get weepy. So some of you know that already. I joined the Criminal Justice Commission in 2006. I sat on the commission until 2022. I was chair for 2 years. And I, since then, for the last 8 years, have been co-chair of the Community Engagement Task Force with the police chief. I've had 3 different police chiefs work with me. And I travel around the country for work, and I do a lot of work with law enforcement places around the country. And whenever I talk about the CJC, people are amazed that we have a body that has law enforcement, judges, constitutional officers, citizens together, and it's such a unique body. And I really want it to stay intact. I keep hearing that nothing will change by moving it under public safety. So my question is, if nothing's going to change, why are we moving it? That's just a basic question. I looked at the part of the ordinance, and one of the things I read, bear with me a second. The Criminal Justice Commission is established to study all aspects of the criminal justice and crime prevention systems within the federal, state, county, municipal, and private agencies within the county. The purpose shall include the study of the health and human services, educational systems, among others. It then goes on to say that the Criminal Justice Commission shall make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners on policies and programs designed to accomplish the objectives. The Criminal Justice Commission shall have the following authority and powers: to review, research, and evaluate existing systems and programs within the scope of the Criminal Justice Commission, to establish task force or subcommittees to study in detail key aspects of programs and systems within the criminal justice system. In order to maintain the public trust, the CJC has to be an autonomous advisory board to the BCC on all matters relating to criminal justice, and has to be allowed to perform those objectives. If we're sitting under public safety, it means that if there's anything to review or investigate in public safety, we can't do that. We're supposed to be an independent review of this, I'm sorry, we're an office that should be able to give independent reviews. And the only way we can provide the BCC with an unbiased account of findings and recommendations is to maintain the autonomy that we've had for the last 35 years. Commissioner Powell, you asked this morning when Mr. Newbold was up about things that stuck out for him. I'm sure you've all seen this 35-year report. There's a lot in here, and I'm proud to have been a part of it. I cannot, as I said, I know you've already made the vote this morning, but I had to have my voice on the record to say that I really believe the Criminal Justice Commission should maintain its autonomy. Thank you.
Commissioner Weiss, you're recognized.
Thank you, Ms. Jeeves. First off, thank you for being here, and thank you for your service to the community and all you've done, not only in this board, but on so many other things you've done throughout the community. But with that said, my question, or maybe it's my expectation, would be you have an independent board. It is an independent board, even though the personnel are going to be housed in the public safety department. But the board itself is not made up. Obviously, one of my colleagues serves on the board. Pretty much, I'm trying to think, I think public safety actually may have a seat on, do they have a seat on the board?
Not an
Okay,
official seat,
so then
no.
you have nobody from our staff that sits on the board, other than people that are filling those seats. I think there's 11 from the BDB, you have police, judges, everybody is represented, the state attorney, the public defender. You all are very powerful, outspoken people that serve on that board. I can't imagine that if your board made a recommendation, and you wouldn't, because normally what happens when the board makes a recommendation, that you bring it in. It comes to us, and we approve, whether it's a program or whatever it is, that because you all have done that research and found something. I don't see how that is going to be broken. That board, your chair and your executive board and all your board members would come into our meeting and express this agenda item to us. I understand the concern. I totally understand your concern, but I believe that, and what my colleague had asked for is 6 months to see and come back to us. But I just know the people on that board are too powerful and too outspoken, and quite frankly, it's the staff that they're the ones doing the work that the board directs them to do. You all direct them what research you want them to work on. That's in your minutes. And if they don't comply with that, that'll be in front of us.
Okay. We'll
Thank
see you in
you.
6 months.
Okay.
Commissioner Flores?
Yeah, I just want to clarify that. While our staff does not have an actual seat on the board, they do participate and they provide a lot of feedback, because I know Todd has been very instrumental in providing historical perspective and data to this group. So you're right, they don't have an actual vote, but staff is there, present, willing, and ready to help.
Next up, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Jane Tierney. I live in DeQuesta. My husband and I have a business in Palm Beach County. I am a member of the community, the CJC Community Engagement Task Force, and I co-chair the STRIDE Task Force. I want to start out by saying any of my comments are not critical in any way. Do not consider ill intent on anybody's behalf or on the capabilities of the Department of Safety. I agree with everything Barbara said. I want to speak to this reorganization. The criminal justice system is a complex network of local, county, state, federal, law enforcement, court, and corrections agencies. It's important to distinguish. There is a criminal justice system in Palm Beach County. There is not a Palm Beach County criminal justice system under the control of the county government. It's distinctly different. The BCC established the CJC by Ordinance 8816, and that was updated to 2023-39. It's part of the code. The CJC is a unicorn. It's a unicorn in the country. You talk to anybody in criminal justice and they go, I can't believe Palm Beach County has an organization like this. But it's also a unicorn in the system. By law, it's an advisory committee. It's a convening table for the leaders of law enforcement and the legal system here in Palm Beach County. It's not a line or staff department of the county. It's not responsible for operations. It's not a direct service provider. The ordinance does not place the CJC under any department, not the public safety department, no department. I want to make the point that, moving this $5,682,000 plus into the public safety department looks like the public safety department is going to control the CJC. Perception is important. This appears to weaken the CJC. We have constitutional officers, the sheriff, the state attorney, et cetera, who participate. They are not going to consider a subset of a department as serious as the independent CJC was. I recommend that we clarify the structure. If the ordinance is going to be changed, follow the procedure, hold a public meeting, get public comment, have the CJC members comment, and then vote and decide how you want to do it. We're just backing into this, and it's all muddy. And last fall, it wasn't clear what the CJC did or what the responsibilities were. I think it needs to be straightened out right now. This is too important. Thank you.
Thank you. Did we have one more card?
One last one, but I don't see him. Oswald Newbold?
He's not here. All right, thank you. We are going to move on to 6G1. If staff would do a very brief presentation, we'd greatly appreciate it.
Madam Mayor, I'm going to do a brief introduction of our new FDO Director, Jennifer Ferriel, late in the day. Jennifer's been with us for 6-7 weeks now, but who's counting, comes to us from West Palm Beach, held a variety of roles in housing community development, most notably director for about 6 years or so in that spot. And she hit the ground running day one and has really rolled up her sleeves and got a lot going. Supremely engaged and love having her, excited about it, and I want to hand it over to her.
Thank you, Patrick.
Hi and welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board of County Commissioners, and members of the public. For the record, Jennifer Ferriel, FDO Director. I'll be very brief in my statements or in my presentation this afternoon. I'll provide some general background for the public in terms of prior actions taken on by the county. I'll summarize very briefly the private initiated proposal that was received, and of course obtain board direction in terms of how to proceed and any other considerations that this governing body may have in terms of, should you decide that for us to proceed, any negotiation terms that you'd like for us to consider. Just some brief background. In September of 2020, the Tourist Development Council did commission a study which indicated the need for 6 hotel rooms to support the convention center's marketability and, of course, their future expansion. As a result of that study, this governing body directed staff to issue an RFP to move forward with a convention center headquarters hotel, which contemplated the use of county-owned properties and other sites within, and including an existing parking infrastructure within to utilize for this purpose. As an outcome of that RFP, 3 proposals were received, 2 of which were deemed unresponsive, and the one that did proceed to move forward was with City Place Hotel LLC, also known or an affiliate of Related Ross LLC. As you may know, the negotiations did proceed, but it did not result in an agreement, as the developer or the proposer did withdraw, and the RFP was subsequently canceled. We did receive some other concept, but that concept did not advance to you for further discussion. Earlier or late last month, the county did receive a formal request from Related Ross to further engage with staff and to proceed with a privately initiated concept. They did submit this proposal under the Economic Development Authority as authorized by Florida statutes, which gives county the authority or the opportunity to negotiate economic development incentives or any other partnerships that will serve a public purpose. Just an overview of the concept itself, the developer is proposing to develop a hotel on their privately owned site. They are seeking or proposing a $310 million full-service branded hotel. They are not requesting any county funding. And while no county land is being contemplated, there may be a need for use of existing county facilities, including a parking structure. That will all be determined should we proceed and discuss further negotiations. And finally, what we're asking today is direction from this governing body as to whether we should proceed with the furtherance of this concept, including negotiations, or whether you decide that we should decline any further engagement. Should it be decided for us to proceed, staff would ensure that we evaluate and or negotiate, obviously, the ownership and delivery structure of this proposal, any site conditions or feasibility analysis that may be conducted. We'll look at the parking strategy and any potential infrastructure impacts, any public realm considerations, including coordination with the City of West Palm Beach, and of course, any other policy, direction, or guidance that this body wishes for us to explore or further establish. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Commissioner Weiss, you're recognized.
Thank you. First off, there's clearly been a established a need for additional hotel rooms to support the convention center even in its current configuration. I think that's pretty clear based on the studies that we've had over the years. I've received a number of emails from folks regarding this, and so I just want to put out some things people may or may not understand, or maybe help clarify, because I looked at this and I shared, I think, initially some of those same concerns. Number one, as it relates, I saw an article, it claimed, no taxes. Well, where this is located is within the West Palm Beach downtown CRA, and so the county does not receive any taxes. What we receive, we pass through the West Palm Beach CRA. So the county itself does not receive taxes from this. We'd receive bed tax revenue to help support our tourism industry. We would get a block room rate at discounted to be able to support the activities over at the convention center. And of course, convention center revenue. Potentially, if an agreement is reached on sharing our garage over there, we would receive parking revenue and then rental income or lease income if, in fact, the land was transferred to us. A couple things I would be interested in wanting to have further discussions on. One is the rental income and really understanding what that piece is going to be and how it works out over time. Obviously, the land value, the asset in and of itself, if it is transferred to the county, will become a county asset. And so just an understanding of it's potentially a 99-year lease, what that would look like for us. And just the understanding that there is a need for this, something to support the use of the convention center, because it is underutilized. We know that. It does take revenue to support it, and this potentially will hopefully eliminate that need that we would have to contribute any additional dollars to support the convention center. So I would be in favor of seeing it come back to us and really see the details of it.
Vice Mayor Woodward, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of questions. I guess you won't be able to answer today, but questions that I'll want answered for this. With renegotiating the existing room agreement for the other hotel, I know that has been some conversations that I've had to make sure that I don't quite understand all the ins and outs of the existing one and what it could be and what was promised. That's just part of the staff analysis that I would hope you come back with, so that both hotels have the same agreement and a better agreement than we do right now. Also, any annual payments to the county, how exactly that works. I know we have an existing agreement now that is, I don't think that we've seen anything from, but it's part of the discussion that needs to come back. And I've mentioned before a pedestrian crossover over Okeechobee connecting these two. If somehow this project can facilitate that, that's a huge crossing, and if our convention center is really going to do what it can do, and connect to City Place is doing very well. I've been to that convention center when people are leaving to go to restaurants across the way. We need this. So if that could be part of it. And the last thing I'm going to say, I live in South County, and Save Boca. If the rest of you don't know about what's happening down there, it is no joke, and people are watching. So when we look to do something like this, we're going to have to prove to our constituents that they are getting fairness. And that particular project, and I am not weighing in personally on that. I'm a constituent in that area. I am not involved in it, but I will say the residents felt that they were not heard and that it was too much of a lopsided agreement. And even though I believe, they've come to good terms with it, I don't want this board to be caught up in the same type of momentum. And, the sentiment that's out there, people are watching these things very closely. And I think West Palm Beach has some similar grumblings already, so I don't want us to become a part of that. We need, when this comes back to us, we really need to be able to explain to our citizens that this is a fair deal for them and not lopsided. So that's my ask. Those are the important things that I would put on there. I'm very much for continuing this conversation, but we don't need that coming up here for this board. None of us need that. So please come back with a good deal.
Commissioner Flores, you're recognized.
Yes. So I've been on this board for a little bit over a year, and one of the things that has been talked about in this county for a long time is the expansion of the convention center and how underutilized it has been. I think this is an asset for this county to be able to attract a different audience to the county who will help the economy, who will help get more people employed, who will help attract more bed taxes, who we can then turn and make investments into the county. So this has been a conversation for a long time. We have failed to make a decision. I think we have a proposal in front of us, which is sort of the starting of the conversation. I think we should explore it. I think we should move forward. Hearing some of the comments from our commission, I think we're well versed on this topic, and I think in order for us to do the expansion of the convention center, we need this hotel. The study did call for an additional 600. I understand the proposal is coming in at 400. I've had this discussion with you already, but I want to make it in public for the record. If they're only going to deliver 400, I want to be able to keep the option to add an additional 200 later on in time, if we need it. So that means if we, move forward with the hotel, we do the expansion of the convention center, we keep that option of adding another 200 if we deem that it's required. But we have to be able to keep that open and exercise that if we so see fit. So I'm glad to see this moving forward. I'm glad that we are finally having a discussion about it. So, we'll put, from my standpoint, we put it back on your court, begin some of these negotiations, figure out the fine points. And like Commissioner Woodward said, we got to do what's best for our residents. So, but part of this is driving tourism, and I'm looking at the TDC back there, and our people is that convention center has to be humming. We need to be able to attract the best conventions in this nation, and if not even internationally, to come here and pick Palm Beach County as a place to come host your convention. So I love the lunches, I love the breakfast, but we need that thing booked all day long for 5 or 6 days. Thank you.
Commissioner Marino, you're recognized.
Thank you. Dave, Emmanuel, Sir Jill, thank you for being here. We do appreciate the support from the TDC, the Discover the Palm Beaches, and the Convention Center Hotel. Pardon my voice. I have no idea why I'm losing my voice. But I do see a purpose to this. I do see the board moving this forward. Obviously, there's a lot of questions still. The Vice Mayor brought up a good point about going over Okeechobee Boulevard. Another good point to discuss would be a back exit out onto Parker so that traffic does not have to go directly onto Okeechobee. I'm just throwing it out there. We are looking at a countywide transportation master plan. Is this included in that? Because if we are adding 400 hotel rooms, we're adding transportation going to and from that. And they're going to need another way out other than just Okeechobee Boulevard and the little back street that takes you near the Jag dealership. So that would be something I would include in the discussion. And it might be already being had, so I appreciate that. Commissioner Weiss, thank you for clearing up the tax issue, because like Greg, I've also gotten a lot of people saying, don't give away our tax dollars. And again, this is not ad valorem tax dollars. This is TDC dollars that would, these dollars would be going to. We're not collecting tax dollars. People do want to know how services are going to get paid for, so that would be another issue, police and fire. But other than that, I'm in support for moving this forward. Thank you.
Commissioner Weiss, you're recognized.
Yeah, if you don't know, I live adjacent to the neighborhood behind the convention center. So a couple other things.
So you really want that exit, huh?
Well, first off, anything going to Parker is going to have to go through Howard Park, and that's in the tennis courts, and that would be, you're going to have.
How about a tunnel?
There you go. Tunnel may be appropriate, but you're going under the stub canal. A couple things I think, in understanding the issues too for the residents that live around there. Right now, even though hotel and the convention center, well, the convention center has its own parking, but the existing hotel provides parking for their staff over at City Place. Many of them, the folks unfortunately who work there, tend to use Grandview Heights and park over there. In fact, the city has had to implement parking decals in the streets adjacent over there. So there's got to be a sensitivity to the impacts it's going to have on the surrounding neighborhood, and that we're going to need their support, ensuring that their staff is not parking in using up the parking, because there are very narrow streets back there that were built in the 20s, and a lot of the homes, I mean, it's become a real problem for them. So that's one thing to be aware of. And I don't want to really say much about the pedestrian bridge, other than to say it might be helpful to folks that are using the convention center. But the people who live around there, we have a cut through. We have a pedestrian access through there. And so it's bikes and it's pedestrians that come across from our neighborhoods. A lot of bikes that come through from the south end of West Palm Beach. They come up through Florida Avenue. And that bridge is not going to, it won't help them. So I'm really looking forward, though, I think, to the idea of our smart traffic lights. I think once they get installed, I'm hopeful that's going to help us better manage the pedestrian utilization of Okeechobee. So those are my comments. And again, the revenues and what it's going to generate for us is paramount, and as well as protecting our neighborhoods nearby.
Commissioner Sachs, you are recognized.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. I like to defer to the district commissioner because he knows the area very well. But I will say that anything we can do to increase the competitiveness of our convention center is a good thing. And I would like to make sure that Commissioner Weiss is represented in your staff review of this and your negotiations with Related Ross. But this is long overdue. I know that there are, and I want to welcome you to our team, by the way. This is long overdue, and we do need, more and more space for our convention. I want to congratulate those members of the TDC that worked on this in a very strict way, because we just don't have any space for people anymore. So I know that that this will be engaged in a proper way, especially with the district commissioner involved. Thank you, and proceed aggressively as far as I'm concerned.
Commissioner Powell, you're recognized.
Thank you. I want to reiterate what Commissioner Flores said with regard to economic development and people who have the opportunity to work, and what that would do for the county. Proceeding with the further evaluation and staff level negotiations, I think, is a good idea. It gives staff an opportunity to work on behalf of the board to come up with a good idea, a good plan to move forward. And if not, it still gives staff the opportunity, gives the board an opportunity whether to say this is acceptable or not, or it still keeps the doors open. So in light of what all of my colleagues have said, I would be supportive of allowing staff to have that opportunity to negotiate on behalf of the board for a deal that will be suitable for the county. A deal that would, of course, be transparent, fair, and balanced.
Thank you, Commissioner. Administrator Abruzzo, perfect timing. Are we clear on direction for staff, or do we need summarization?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I believe we are clear. I will be the lead negotiator, so I've been taking diligent notes. Just one point of clarification. Commissioner Flores is fully understand the 200 rooms. Just want to be clear that we are controlling those 200 rooms to be added at some time later, potentially on our site, not on the private developer site. Is that correct? Thank you.
We're good? Okay, moving on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have, from my fellow commissioners, any board appointments? Vice Mayor Woodward, you're recognized.
Thank you. I need to reappoint Sam Caliendo to the Zoning Commission and appoint Christine Roberts to the Small Business Development Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Also, we have item number 8 on page 89. It's 8A, 1 and 2. I need a motion. It is a receive and file. I have a first by Commissioner Flores, a second by Commissioner Sacks. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that that motion carries 7-0. County Attorney, do you have any comments?
None.
Do we have any board members that have any direction? Did the administrator have comments? Commissioner Flores and then Commissioner Weiss.
Yeah, before I get to the direction component of this, I want to take a moment to thank our administration, our Deputy County Administrator, Tammy Fields, Community Service Director, James Green, our Emergency Management Team, Palm Tran, Public Affairs, and all of the staff that had worked tirelessly this weekend to keep our unsheltered individuals in a warm place during the extreme cold. Over 400 individuals, including families and pets, were given warmth, a safe place to spend the night. We also partner with our nonprofit entities in the county, Salvation Army, Westgate Park and Recreation Center, Belle Glade Transitional Shelter, Lake Village. At the Glades, we also partner with the Lord's Place and St. Anne's. So to all those entities and everybody that was involved, the leadership displayed by the administrator and our administration, our team, I just want to say thank you for taking care of those less fortunate. So with that being said, I would like to give direction without, if there's no objections, for county staff to look into what would entail to change the thresholds for opening the cold weather shelters if we increase it by 5 or 10 degrees. So instead of opening at 40 degrees, what it would look like at 45 or 50 degrees.
For clarification purposes, what do you want them to take a look at? What?
How many days it would entail at 45 or 50, how much funding it would require, and if there's any grants opportunities out there. We can constantly talk about sheltering the homeless, and it seems like we can't even shelter them when there's extreme weather conditions out there. So I would like us, or have staff look into what that would entail.
Did this board have this discussion prior to a year ago?
I requested the same information, no action was ever taken. It wasn't even brought back to us.
So for clarification, what you're looking for is the cost of this and of opening these at 5 degrees more and 10 degrees more? You're just looking at a cost analysis?
It would entail figuring out how many times a year it would drop under 45 or 50, and what the cost would be, yes. And if there's grant opportunities out there to help fund this.
Okay, thank you.
We can include utilization, yes.
Okay. Next, we have, I believe it was Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. And my office sent around an email yesterday. This is a situation, we have folks that are wheelchair bound that they obviously rely on somebody else to help them move about the county. Some of these people have full-time jobs. Unfortunately, the way Palm Trend Connections operates today, it doesn't provide the level of service that they need. They also want to be able to participate in society as well. These folks, although wheelchair bound, still want to be able to go out and socialize and do those kinds of things, but they're not capable of driving a vehicle. And so what I'd like staff to do is to look at ways that we might create a pilot program with no more than 1% of the Palm Trend Connection budget, which would be $500,000. Try to come back, whether we can find a market solution, whether we can create a premium Palm Trend Connection program. But what happens, or what has happened to one of my constituents, is she ended up at the airport, flight was delayed, ended up at the airport, and had no way to get home. And there was nobody there. And she was on her own in a wheelchair, and eventually was able to call her parents, who could go get a van to go pick her up. And it seems like, I know other communities have found solutions for this. They need more of an on-demand type service. And I'm just asking for staff to look into this and come back to us and see if it's at all feasible or possible for us.
I do not see any objections. And Commissioner Weiss, I fully support it. I think we can add to people's quality of life. I would just like to know if there's some room for expansion of that. This is something I've been talking about for quite a while. We have Palm Trend out there, and we could make it better for residents, more than just even wheelchair residents.
Well, these people have virtually nothing. They have Palm Trend Connections, but that doesn't serve them for being able to go to work because of the time. They've got to be at work on time, and unfortunately, Palm Trend Connection doesn't operate as,
Correct.
And there's no private services really. We used to have taxis. We had wheelchair taxis, but the taxis have sort of gone away because of the
Uber.
Yeah,
So I'm just asking, would you mind if when
TNCs.
staff brought this back to us, that they also expanded upon what that would look like in addition to wheelchair services?
I don't want to preclude anybody from participating in society.
All right, thank you. Vice Mayor Woodward, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I sent everyone a letter, I think, on Friday. I attended our Veteran Services Advisory Board, and one of the discussion items that, I'm not sure how long it's been going, but one of the requests that came out of that board was to have a one-page information flyer specific to veterans, with our hotline number, with some pertinent information that could be distributed through food banks at the VA, how mass distribution for it, printing for it, but also sending it through email to organizations. They can print it as well and share it. And also for us to create a landing page specific to veterans services that has a very easy URL that can be redirected, like PBC Vet, something like that. That it will be a county website or web page on our website, but having the URL that could be easily remembered when they're out there, and on that landing page to have links for our services, but also connecting to the wide a range of nonprofits that exist just for veterans. So that was two very interesting things that came out of that. I doubt that this is a very big fiscal impact, but I would like to give board direction to do so.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Marino, you are recognized.
So interesting topic came up. Commissioner Powell, thank you for joining me on Friday at the Homeless and Housing Alliance Forum. But in doing some research for that, the topic of the La Quinta Hotel came up, and the fact that it's in foreclosure right now for about half of what it was that we were willing to pay for it. And I would be interested to know if the board would be interested in getting more information about that. Obviously, the condition of the hotel, but is this something that we would want to move forward with?
Which hotel?
La Quinta Hotel.
The one that we were discussing before, and you're saying it's available for potentially half the price?
We were going to, when the contract was done, what we were going to pay was close to 18 million, and right now, from what I've been told, and James Green, are you still here, James?
I don't know that all those residents that came out would be too happy with us.
I think, well, the price of it now in foreclosure is around $9 million, so it's half the price.
This is Commissioner Weiss's district, so I would like to hear from him, but Commissioner Flores, you're recognized.
I know I'm opening a can of worms, but you know, what we're trying to do, this is actually property that would offer the ability to also have wraparound services, which is something that we were talking about, not the treat and street. But if you are have the ability to be in this location, there are also services, we could have services available right there. So we were willing to buy it in the first place. Are we still willing to entertain the thoughts of it now that it's half price?
I believe the cost of maintenance and repairs are why we ultimately decided the upkeep on it. Dr. Green, are you familiar with this? And Commissioner, let's let Dr. Green speak first.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice
Tear
Mayor.
it down and build.
Commissioners. I am familiar with the property going into foreclosure. I reached out to, excuse me, our facilities department, and apparently they reached out to facilities inquiring about it. So facilities did confirm that it was in foreclosure. They did not confirm that there was a price associated with it, although the articles that were published did list it in foreclosure for around 9 million, some odd millions of dollars.
And do we have any idea what the land alone would be worth?
I am not sure. I don't think that assessment has been done.
I guess my direction would be, can we endeavor to find out more information about this?
I think more information would be definitely appropriate. Commissioner Flores, you're recognized.
So if I recall correctly, we sort of had the funding already identified, because it's a pocket of funding that we had available that we were going to purchase the land with. And I believe when that came back to us, we even said, are we going to now look at Ramada as a option B? So I am in favor of considering this. I thought the program was good. I think if the funding is there, why shouldn't we do it? I think why we walked away was because of the maintenance costs, that there was major reparation. I believe there was some sort of flooding or water issue that occurred. But if we are able to obtain this property at a lower cost and invest the dollar difference into putting it into working conditions, then I would be happy to explore this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Weiss, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Obviously, I supported this when we first explored it, and when it became, clear that there was problems with the property and it was going to, the repairs, we couldn't even calculate what it was gonna cost. I don't mind staff coming back with information, but what I will say is as staff was preparing and looking at this proposal, they began to see potential issues with, not because of the hotel itself, but the lack of having a real kitchen, the lack of having a place for people to eat together. We're not having, it didn't have the kinds of things you really, if you're going to live someplace long-term and you have no kitchen in your room, that began, staff really, I think, and I'll ask them to come, when they come back with their comments on that as well, that they began to realize it is going to make a really difficult place for people to live with no.
Excuse me, Commissioner, could we also have them look at the potential, because a lot of hotel rooms have connecting rooms, of maybe converting some of those spaces into living space, if that is what you would be interested in?
Well, I think the concept was, living in a hotel room with no kitchen was not going to be as a long-term viable thing for what they became, from a social perspective, and concerns over, people having hot plates and stuff, and just becoming a challenge.
Commissioner Flores, you're
Anyways.
recognized.
I was just gonna say, we just approved micro units, so essentially the equivalent of a hotel room. So I will agree with Commissioner Weiss. I think we need to find a viable option for that kitchenette, because I think that was truly a component that needs to be flushed out. But if I recall, this was for seniors and veterans. So I think that's a vulnerable, segment in our community that we should definitely look at, because a lot of these people that are fixed income, they're having to either become homeless, file for bankruptcy because they don't have any funding. The rates continue to increase. So this would be a place to alleviate some of the people going homeless. And I think we were charging, it was 30 or 50% of their income. So it's not something that's free. We're not giving something free. I mean, I know we're making an initial investment, but a lot of the operating expenses will be recouped.
Yes, our proposal did allow to charge up to 30% of the area median income.
Yeah, so.
Of their income, yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
All right, so.
And just as a follow-up, the other hotel that we had talked about is not on the table anymore, correct? The price was ridiculous?
That price was a lot higher than what you'd been contemplating with the La Quinta facility.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Also, something that it reminded me I wanted staff to look into without objection was the old hospital in Belglade.
Okay.
For some housing solutions. Like, can we at least find out who owns it, what the price would be, where that stands to potentially help them? Thank you. Jonathan?
Mayor, Commissioners, Vice Mayor. So we've looked into that. It's currently owned by Passages of California. They were looking to bring one of those projects here years ago. Project never materialized. Those that we've met with have talked about the bones of the structure being pretty good. And I want to say a year and a half, roughly 2 years ago, the asking price was around $7.5 million. But we'll see. We can look into that now.
And can we, get a look, bring some more information back to the board and what it would potentially cost to turn that into some viable space to use for our residents in our western communities, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Just to clarify board direction, we're going to make contact with property, where it is in its ownership pattern, and trying to establish price points where they would be, what the asking would be, work on the concepts and kind of dust off those ideas. Certainly the damage that we found the second time around, get a better idea and present some options that might be available and present those to the board. Also working with Jonathan, the information on the Glades Hospital.
That'd be amazing. Thank you. We're good. Administrator Bruzo, you had some comments?
I do. First off, Commissioner Flores, we will get right on your study. about cold weather shelters for the unsheltered right away. Commissioner Woodward, right when we got your email, we started working on your request. We actually are pulling information for the website already. ISS, Public Affairs, and HR are also have coordinated the first meeting, so we are on it. Very important to us, and we will deliver on that. Madam Mayor, I do have to go back. We have a staff recommendation, motion to ratify Jennifer Ferriel as the Facility Director and Operations, Facility, FD&O, Facility Development and Operations.
We already voted on it, but we could do it
You did?
again. You did a receive and file, not a ratify. On the receive and file instead of
I'm-
ratify? But we have a motion by Commissioner Weiss, a second by Commissioner Flores. All in
Wonderful.
favor to ratify? Please see that the motion carries 6-0.
Perfect. And I also just wanted to commend, first off, Commissioner Flores. It really was his leadership that got 100, actually, through the course of days, I have the statistics here, many people into our shelters, but the EOC, our public affairs, public safety, of course, Commissioner said it, Palm-Tran, animal care and control, airports, but most of all, our staff delivered an extraordinary amount of blankets and coats to those who were in need. So I really wanted to commend the all-hands-on-deck effort from our staff. And Tammy, led by you, obviously, and Tom Nadler, so thank you both and all for what you've done. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any additional comments by the board? Okay, we will start from left to right. Commissioner Weiss, any comments? Commissioner Flores?
Yeah, so I want to go one step further regarding this weekend with the cold weather. As part of as we saw the temperature lowering, I asked the administrator to see if I could go out with the hot teams, and actually James, Mr. Green, and I ended up going out with Kaylin Runk and Jackie Burke, and we visited throughout my district and some parts of West Palm, some of the encampments of where these individuals live. And what we saw even prior to it getting really cold is that these encampments they build these like fire pits where they try to stay warm as best as possible. So, they collect as much items as they can possibly burn up to try to stay warm through the night. And it's sad to see humanity have to go through this, especially in a place like Palm Beach County. And I would encourage you guys to take this to go do it, so you see where some of our most vulnerable people are living. And I know for me, it opened up my eyes. These people are living right under our noses, and we don't even know it. You turn behind one tree, and there might be, 10 individuals living in the woods. So we always talk about housing the homeless, but they're out there. I know we don't see it. I know we talked about it today. We have the point in time, the count was around 1,500. These are human beings. We had a family with, I believe it was a Tammy, 5 kids? 6 kids show up to one of the warming centers because they didn't know where else to turn to. So this is real, and to the team that does God's work, I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Woodward, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Commissioner Flores, for what you did this weekend and also bringing the attention to it. And all the staff that worked this weekend, I believe they said we broke a 100-year record on this. I had 5 dead iguanas in my yard, so, and they did not come back. They're frozen. So I know this happened everywhere. I also wanted to thank Animal Care and Control, because we talked about what was happening with the people here, but also not to forget all the workers that went. Apparently we had an abundance of blankets, so thank you for all of those volunteers. But it's one of those. it wasn't a hurricane, but it was pretty close to having to activate a lot of our systems. And thank you everyone who did it. It was cold, we're not used to it. And for those who were out there, I just thank you.
Commissioner Powell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We haven't had an opportunity to get together since January 17th, where we had the Pepsi National Battle of the Bands of the Palm Beaches. I want to commend our Executive Director for the TDC, Emmanuel Perry. Emmanuel, thank you for the work that you put into the Battle of the Bands. FAU, the stadium, I want to say it right, the Credit Union Stadium? Flagler Credit Union Stadium has not been the same since. I mean, it was alive. There was a huge attendance, and I know that next year, people who attended how many people from the board? Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioner Weiss, and other staff were there, and they got an opportunity to just get a small taste of what it is like. You know, I went to the best HBCU in the land, FAMU, but people got a taste of just what is the culture, the legacy, the history, and unfortunately, although there were a lot of people in the stadium, afterwards, there were still people, when I got back home and the next day and days after, who didn't even know that we had the event. So they're excited about next year. This year was great. Next year will be bigger and better, and it'll get bigger and better every year. And Emmanuel Perry, I just want to thank you and commend you for your hard work and working with the team that helped to bring the Pepsi Battle of the Bands to Palm Beach. And we're looking forward to working together and making it even bigger next year. I'm excited. This is our first time meeting since like early January. So we are in the midst of Black History Month. What a wonderful opportunity. I remind people that history is not everything, but it is a starting point. Dr. John Henrik Clarke said, history is a clock that people use to tell their political and cultural time of day. It is a compass that they use to find themselves on the map of human geography. It tells them where they are, but more importantly, what they still must be. Recently, my daughter, who is 7 years old, pointed out to me, she said, Daddy, I found something out. You want me to tell you what I recognized? And I said, Chandler, what did you recognize? She's very observant. She says, Daddy, you are the only Black commissioner on the wall at the airport. Why is that important? That's important because not just for her, but there's a lot of children who walk through the airport, and sometimes we don't talk about history, and I was in the legislature when we only wanted to talk about meritocracy, and we only wanted to talk about stories of hope and inspiration. But there's children who are growing up in a world who identify what they can be by the time they're 4 years old, and they don't see images that look like them. They go to school and they don't have a teacher that teaches them who looks like them. They don't see anybody in a position of power as a lawyer or an elected official who looks like them. So their wall or their ceiling is lowered because they don't see what looks like them. So you can't be what you don't see. And I know there's a new focus now on only telling stories of inspiration and hope. We talk about Abraham Lincoln, but we forget about Andrew Johnson, right? We talk about the civil rights movement, but we forget about all the pullbacks. We talked about Dr. King, but we silently forget that Dr. King didn't just pass away, he was shot. He died on a balcony. So in Black History Month, it's our opportunity and our time to not forget all that has happened, to not just talk about the great things that have happened and being the first. It's an opportunity to talk about the struggles and the triumph to be the next. So recognizing where we are, I'm not the first, but there's an opportunity to be the next, and remember that. So as we celebrate Black History Month, it's not just about my history or your history, It is our history combined, and when you leave things out of history, it's a half-truth, and a half-truth is always a whole lie. So make sure that, we remember. Every part of history is important, the good with the bad. Everything that has happened, we recognize in this wonderful Black History Month. And I'll close with the opportunity to ask for a off-site proclamation for the Project 12 calendar that we'll be doing in Boca Raton, West Boca, I think, this
I
weekend.
have a motion, and I have a second by Commissioner Flores. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that that motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Commissioner Moreno, you're recognized.
Thank you. I have three proclamations. One is and they are all off-site, so we don't have to take too much time during those days. One would be for a proclamation declaring February 27th, 2026 as the Lord's Place March to End Homelessness Awareness Day.
I have a motion. I have a second by Commissioner Powell. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that that motion carries 6-0.
I would also like to request an off-site proclamation recognizing, and this organization is very near and dear to my heart, the 40th anniversary of the Edna W. Runner Education Center. They'll be having a gala the 20th of February, so I would like to present it then.
I have a motion and a second by Commissioner Vice Mayor Woodward. All in favor? Any opposed? Please see that that motion carries 6-0.
And I have last one would be an off-site proclamation for April 28th, 2026, recognizing the 10-year anniversary of the Alliance of Women Executives.
I have a motion and a second by Commissioner Flores. All in favor? Any opposed? Please say that motion carries 6-0.
And just a reminder, Mardi Gras, which is one of the largest running art festivals, is happening the weekend of February 15th and 16th at Gardens District Park.
Thank you.
Thank you. 14th and 15th. Did I say 15th and 16th? 14th and 15th.
I will just wrap up by saying, because we do not, well, I guess we'll meet tomorrow, but because this is our regular meeting, happy Valentine's Day to everyone. And have a great one. We are adjourned.
Here, there, everywhere. There are so many ways you can recycle right in Palm Beach County. Just look for these specially marked containers at your local community and sporting events. Then, be sure to place the correct item in the appropriate cart. Give us a call at 866-NEW-BINS or visit swa.org/RR-events to see if we can help you make your next event a Recycle Right Spectacular.
Palm Tran invites you to the Let's Get on the Bus Challenge. Palm Tran has been a pillar in our community for more than 50 years. Whether you're going to work, school, medical appointments, the beach, or any iconic spot in Palm Beach County, Palm Tran can get you there. Imagine you on a Palm Tran bus where you'll have the chance to win epic prizes and free rides. Now grab a friend and get ready to be part of something extraordinary. We're challenging all community leaders to join Palm Tran as a transit champion. We need your help to encourage your friends, family, co-workers, and constituents to be a part of the Let's Get on the Bus Challenge. The more they ride, the more chances to win. The Let's Get on the Bus Challenge benefits us all, from reducing traffic jams to creating a greener community. Let's ride towards a brighter and more sustainable future.
Let's get on the bus, Palm Beach County.
Join the challenge today at palmtran.org.
This year, the Spady Museum celebrates our 20th anniversary, 20 years of serving the South Florida community. Our next exhibit will be all about local Palm Beach County history. That exhibit will be opening in March. Visit us at the Spady Cultural Heritage Museum. We are at 170 Northwest 5th Avenue in beautiful downtown Delray Beach. Visit our website, www.spadymuseum.com.